All right, y'all. Welcome to All Politics of Local America's number one political hip hop radio talk show. Y'all know if it's Friday, y'all know it's time for All Politics of Local. But more importantly, y'all know if it is the fourth Friday, then y'all know it's time for the Disciples. So tonight, of course, we're going to have an important guest on the Disciples. They'll tell you who that is, who their guest is before they bring them on. And of course, John, you'll give them the rundown. My name is Ed Riley. I'm one of your hosts. The brother to your left is another host. His name is John Austin. And then the brother to your right, of course, is none other than the one and only Hellraiser Zaid Muhammad, another one of your hosts. And then, of course, the folks you see down the bottom are, of course, the disciples. And they'll introduce themselves shortly. And then we'll give the show to them to start it off. So, John, you want to give them the rundown for what's up tonight?
All right, what's up tonight? We have a great show coming up tonight. After the Disciples are over, we're going to have the newly elected mayor of Montclair, Renee Baskerville, come on, and we're going to welcome her, and we'll look forward to that conversation. At 7:30, we're going to have the family of Drew Washington, Denise, Ervin, and Tom Ervin talking about Saturday's George Floyd event. And also Toni Ervin, yes. Denise Ervin and Toni Ervin come on to talk about Saturday's George Floyd event. And at 8 o'clock, we're going to have Melina Abdullah of Black Lives Matter Grassroots LA talking about fighting police brutality.
And also, she's a presidential candidate running next to, what's the brother's name, Zaid?
She's running with Cornel West.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a conversation we would much rather have, but this other thing is like really right in the air right now. So we got to take that apart first.
Right, and we'll get it on back, and we'll get both of them on to talk about their candidacy.
All right, and then after that we have DJ Rhino and the State of Hip Hop coming on at 8:30. So it's a packed show. It's a lively show.
All right. So if you want to pass it off to them, John, and we'll bring their guests in and let them handle it.
Okay, so that fourth Friday, it is the Disciples. So the Disciples are on next. So welcome, and it's yours.
Thank you, Brother John. Thank you, Brother Ed. Thank you, Brother Zaid. Once again, my name is Brother Abdul Haqq Muhammad. I'm the student minister of the Honorable Minister Louise for the Muhammad Mosque of Islam, apartment number 25, which is located here in the city of Newark, New Jersey. And once again, we're here by God's grace and mercy for another show, The Disciples. I saw my sister logging on. She's always busy, always working on behalf of the citizens of Newark, New Jersey, and all over the state of New Jersey, Reverend Rountree. And I saw we have our sister, Ali, who's with us as well. I don't know if Reverend Rountree is ready and in position. She seemed like she was working. But if Lady Ali would like to introduce herself, everyone in our listening audience who follow our show, I know they are very familiar with our sister. But if you would like to introduce yourself, you can at this time, Sister Ali. Or reintroduce yourself, I should say.
Hello, everybody. How y'all doing? My name is Lady Ali. I am the wife of the late, great overseer, Dr. Bryant Rashid Ali. And I was asked to sit in his seat a couple of weeks ago or last month. And I'm very honored, and it's a pleasure to be here with y'all. I was able to get my hair done much earlier, so I was able to come here and be on time because my husband had a thing with time. So I said, Lord, I can't be late because the man going to be up there talking about me. So I went and got my hair done early because I'm getting honored tomorrow at a luncheon for widows and widowers of Newark and vicinity. So they're supposed to be honoring us tomorrow.
Excellent, my dear sister. Again, we are happy to have you.
Well, congratulations, Queen. Congratulations. That's
man.
Conversation.
We're happy to have you. And we know that's an award that's much deserved. And we see you working as always, my dear sister. And I don't know if Reverend Rountree is ready. Again, we know our sister is always working. She's always in the mix. And that's why we love her, for her dedication and her commitment to the liberation and the salvation of our people. But again, thank everyone in our listening audience for being on with us. For another week of the Disciples. A disciple, my leading teacher, the Honorable Minister Louise Farrakhan, teaches us, is one who disciplines himself to the teachings of his master. So as we strive to discipline ourselves to the teacher of the master teacher, we pray that you all will be patient with us and that you will continue to help us and aid us as we continue to try to enlighten the masses. So we have on with us our sister. Now, I don't want to mispronounce your name, my dear sister. The scripture says that a good name is better than gold, my sister. And I don't want to mispronounce your name. I would have rather have Reverend Rountree do the introduction or do the honors. But again, our sister is working. We see she's in the rotunda. Look at our sister. But anyway, so I don't want to mess up your name. How do you say your name, dear sister?
Ooh, good evening.
Well, I think the sister, she's involved now. She just unmuted herself, so maybe she can. Councilwoman, did you want to introduce me?
Ooh.
Well,
Councilwoman,
I just want to. How do you say your name, dear sister?
it's Jana. No problem. It's Jana. Janna. Jana.
It's all right.
Listen,
It's all right,
prayer
Sister
boy.
Rountree.
Can I talk?
You can talk and we can hear you loud and clear.
It's radio. You got to talk.
We can hear you loud and clear. And don't worry, everybody who follows our show, they know you're always working on behalf of our people in the city of Newark, New Jersey. So everybody is used to you being on the move. So nobody is, I don't think anyone is upset. They know
I apologize, Minister.
Yes,
My minister, my son.
No need to
Listen,
apologize.
let me tell you what they did. They put me on the program to open up in prayer and did not tell me for the flag raising of Guyana. I was already in a meeting with some other officials, and the council president was texting me saying, what time are you going to arrive? Because they have you down to pray. Well, it just so happened that I was in the building anyway. So I said, if they just give me 10 minutes, then I looked at the clock. I said, but I need to be on All Politics and Local, the number one hip hop Facebook. Look with my brother, Minister Abdullah Muhammad, and with the brother, Zaid, these activists, these awesome, phenomenal people, and Lady Balena Ali, that has taken the space for the wonderful pastor. Brian, now that you look so beautiful, Queen. God bless you. Congratulations on your being
Thank you.
honored. And Jana Williams, my goodness. Now let me tell y'all something. She my family for real. She always, you know how people be running around.
Oh
Street
my
Doctor had
God!
cousins.
Stop it! Oh.
Street Doctor had cousins all over the world. Everywhere you went with Street Doctor would say, oh, that's my cousin. Oh, that's my cousin. Well, she's really related to me. She's doing some wonderful, phenomenal things. I gather you all have spoke to her and met her. And Brother Riley has seen her bio, and Minister Abdullah Muhammad. But, you know, some of us would never even think about signing up for the military, but she will tell you, I know how to put on some Timberlands, and I know how to go get my nails done and put on a cute dress too. So she'll tell you both sides that she is. So I'm going to yield, this being the Memorial Day weekend, even though we remember those who have given so much of themselves. Baba is a military man right here in the city of Newark, stayed and abroad. Minister Abdullah Muhammad is a military man for the nation of Islam. It depends on what you call military. It depends on what you call activism. It
Thank you
depends
for
on
that.
what you guys, you know, so some do it for the country, some do it for the world. And we have some that do it for the world, the community, and the country. And that would be in these two young brothers. But I got to say, this sister right here got a story to tell. And I gather you, I don't know what happened before I got here, but I just had to say that. All right, I'm going to go on mute now. It's back in your hands, Minister.
Thank you, Sister Rountree. So again, looking at our sister's bio is very extensive and very impressive. Our sister has done a lot. It says here that she's a military veteran, of course. We all know. It says in community advocate in 2020. I'm sorry, my dear sister. I'm just reading the bio. American Top 10 finalists, a national competition celebrating women who have served in the military and have established a record of service in their communities. Sister Jana Williams, a United Air Force veteran from Roselle. Wow, sister's from Roselle. Okay, has many years of service as an airman, or airwoman, we would say, right? and nearly 20 years of accomplishments as an advocate for military veterans. She served veterans through her work coordinating veteran services in Union County as Chief of Staff at the 20th Legislative District and as the founder of VETU, or Vet for You, right, my sister? We getting together, my dear sister. A non-Vet for You. I'm about to read it out. VETU, a nonprofit organization dedicated to serving veterans and military families during their difficult times, ensuring that they have housing, food, clothing during the year. And we know that our veterans in this country are oftentimes overlooked and disrespected constantly and consistently in the past and in the present. So what our sister is doing is very necessary, and it is a work of God and for God. The sister bio is very extensive, and it would take us 20 minutes just reading it. So we just wanted to give you an overview of our sister and what she does, and we're so happy to have you with us, dear sister. And I know everyone in our listening audience is happy to have you as well. So that's a brief introduction. We did the best we could do with what we had, but you know, it's yours, dear sister.
No problem. So I just want to tell you, I'm gratefully and thank you for allowing me this opportunity, this platform. You know, I want to give honor to the councilwoman for even allowing me to come to share my story. But I want to just let you guys know I'm grateful for you guys serving too. Like the councilwoman says, that we serve in different types of military forces and different types of army. So we have to recognize all of those who serve. And I greatly appreciate that. You know, so I'm humble for that. Just to reiterate, yes, I was Miss Veteran America, which is the top 10 finalists. So I actually represented the state of New Jersey in the top finalists for the competition. And it's basically judged on your advocacy, what you do in the community. It has nothing to do with your beauty or who you know or what you know. It's based on advocacy. So that's something that I take pride, you know, dear to my heart, that I even made it that far. I'm a proud mother of 3, proud Air Force veteran, military dependent. My mom served in the Navy, so all I know is public service. I didn't join the military because I wanted to maybe, you know, fight for my country. I just like to pay it forward. I believe that being a public servant, you have to pay it forward in order for you to get it back. You have to be humble in order for you to get it back. So I'm here. I served 4 years in the Air Force as a pharmacy. Was my background. I worked for Duane Reade Pharmacy when I got out. I've won many community service awards from the Congressional Recognition to NAACP. I didn't want my service to stop there, so I started the nonprofit, which is Vet for You. What we do is we make sure that all veteran and military personnel get all the benefits that's owed to them, from being homelessness, facing homelessness, or just getting your educational benefits, or if you was injured in service, making sure that you're filing those claims to get the benefits that's owed to you, or if you got out of the military service and didn't get an honorable discharge, I'm here to fight for you for free to get that honorable discharge. I believe in advocacy. I believe in being the voice of those who is deserving to, and I'm just out here one day at a time, just trying to make a change. I actually partner with the city of Newark. I do claims clinic with the city of Newark. I do expungement clinics with the city of Newark. I feed the homeless with the city of Newark. So my reach is not just Union County. I'm expanding into Essex, Sussex, and the whole state of New Jersey. So like I said, I'm here to take any questions. I thank you for the opportunity to even be a voice, even to just have this platform to let you know what Vet for You do. Today was their day of service. I don't know if anybody realized that today was a day of service across the whole state of New Jersey. So I was able to partner with the Board of Education in Newark with North Star. We made over 50,000 care packages to send to our troops that's deployed right now. You know, so that was just a little part of what I do and what I'm here to do. Okay.
Wow, thank you so much, my dear sister. Go ahead, Reverend Roundtree.
So, Minister, those expungement clinics that she speaks of are something that's very close to my heart, because now that we know that the cannabis industry is doing what they do, then what is being given back? Because on the legislative side, there were certain things that I did agree with and did not agree with. And that some of those individuals that are sitting with charges based on what we're now legitimizing how can we help those individuals? And what Jenna has done is with some organizations that she's partnered with, legal teams have come in, and I myself have co-hosted and getting ready to do one in June, expungement clinics. And I just want to let you know, Jenna, I've had some people contact me, and they're going to be writing letters because their cases were expunged. And so we are so thankful that you're not just in this, as you said, because you wanted to go and fight for your country. You're in it because you are a people person, people centric, public serving woman. And I'm excited about that. Um, and another thing I wanted to let you guys know, hold on, Lord. Well, I guess y'all know I'm outside, front of City Hall. All right, I hear you, brother. We will be opening up in City Hall a functioning 5 day a week Veterans Service Office. And Jana is going to play an intricate part along with some state officials with partnering with me to open this office up. I want to thank Mayor Baraka, Chief Amiri Baraka for locating the space for us to do this and have the office open. She is a walking service provider. She does not even need an office. Every service a veteran probably could use, need, or desire or want. She has access to it with her fingertips and her computer. And what's really sad, which probably some of you don't know, I have sat in meetings with women who have been, and men who have gone for different services and we're not, it's like it's like when you go for expungement. Depending upon where you go, they'll give you the application, Barbara, and you got to go home and fill it out and bring it back. That's not what we want to do. Some people need some help. Some people need to be able to ask you a question while they're filling out this paperwork. Well, it's the same with the veterans, and women. When I tell you all, the women's seminars I've sat in, the women really catch it. Men get promoted, women get demoted, and it was them that was done an injustice too. So we just want to be able to, across the board, at least in the city of Newark, be a model of maybe what the state and the federal government can probably see just how we're going to function with this office, which I wanted it open by today or no later than next week. But I'm going through some legislative process, so I want it to be done right. So it probably will be open. We're probably doing a soft opening. I think June 12th is
Veterans Day.
Women's
Yes.
Veterans Day. But I wanted to be clear that it's not just for the women, but we're moving towards that day, along with Assemblywoman Cleopatra Tucker, who is the chair for the state veterans on the assembly piece, and I am the chair for the municipal council. And I don't just want to have flag raisings and wreath laying on Veterans Day. I want to be able to do more than that and say that we made some type of impact, that we helped somebody, that there was some service given, and that we just not sitting in an office pushing paper to people and then they go home and I did a suicide prevention seminar. They asked me to do a suicide prevention. I had no clue how many people came home because you coming home from prison, if you in one mental state, coming home from the military in another mental state. So thank you once again, Jan. I'm going to turn it back over to you for questions from our host, Minister Abdullah Muhammad, Reverend Baba Zaid, and the one and only Lady Balena Ali.
Well,
Jenna,
thank you so much.
go ahead, Haqq.
I just wanted to thank our sister again for her service, her sacrifice, and her dedication. Sister Jana, you come from a long line of very brave, courageous women, and a very brave and courageous people, because we know that history teaches us that officially or unofficially that Memorial Day was started by Black people, Charleston, South Carolina, May 1st, 1865. So we have always paid homage and tribute to those that fought for our country. And we know that you are another sister and strong sister who is continuing that legacy. So we definitely thank you for your hard work and your dedication, and continue to be a great advocate again for those veterans maybe who don't have a voice, who maybe don't have the space to be able to say what needs to be said and do what needs to be done. So I just want to thank you again for being with us and for your sacrifice and your commitment. Look like Brother Zaid had a question or something.
Oh yeah, I want to talk to this. I want to talk to this daughter. Now listen, in addition to what Haqq said, I want folks to appreciate what you've been through as a vet. To Haqq's point, for everybody that doesn't know, Memorial Day was hatched by our ancestors as an ancestral rescue mission. For those of our ancestors who fought in the Civil War,
that's right,
and whose remains were being violated and not at all respected by the Confederate survivors of the Civil War.
That's right.
In our life, in our death, our service often has never been appreciated for what it should be in this country, right? And the Civil War of the 19th century was the bloodiest war of the 19th century. And you know, folks don't want to say it, but it was a horrible look at white folks killing each other, right? But it was black folks, those 210,000 black folks who went into the Union forces as a consequence of military necessity. What no love from Abraham Lincoln. The North was losing the war. The Battle of Gettysburg was deep north, right? And it put the Union Army on its heels. And out of military necessity comes the Emancipation Proclamation. And those who were able to free themselves from slavery went into the Union Army, and they were the deciding factor, not only of winning that war, but saving this very country. And for some reason, American history isn't taught like that. So I wanted to lift up Haqq's point first, because we need to appreciate our own military history. And our own military history is not just, you know, in service to this country, it's defending ourselves from the terrorism of white supremacy as well, right? Some of us have had to come back from the military and bang with these crazy folks because the government would not protect our human and so-called civil rights. But as a veteran daughter, I just came across something about your background. See, I work in Haqq work, and we all work in what we call community-based violence intervention. Okay. Right? We're in a city that is very serious about treating violence as a public health emergency and using a trauma-informed lens to address this work. And somewhere I read that, you know, as a survivor, you, like many who've seen action, are a PTSD survivor. I want you to start this conversation off by telling us about your actual service, so folks appreciate that, and then we'll get into what you're trying to do on the ground.
No problem. So, like you said, I don't really, that's not a side. I don't know if you guys know, most veterans don't self-identify their disabilities, and they don't self-identify because most veterans who truly serve, not some of those who are here for different reasons, don't like bringing attention to themselves. So I am actually a PTSD veteran. I'm actually a disabled veteran. My mission and my statement that I love to tell people is not all wounds are visible, because if you look at me, you would think nothing's wrong with me.
Come on.
You will look at me and think that I didn't go through any trauma, but I go through every day. I still go through every day, but I've learned to take my trials and tribulations as motivation instead of letting it be a hindrance to me, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
You know, I take it to motivate me. Not only do I use my children and my mother as motivation, but I look at the things that I've been through as motivation. I'm one of the few veterans that didn't deploy, that got their PTSD disabilities. I went through a lot of things on my base. You know, some of those, you know, it's a little scarce to talk about, but some of those I'm more open to talk about. If you just hold on 2 seconds, let me just tell my daughter to grab my charger.
Mm-hmm. As she's talking about it, I hope, you know, one of the things that female vets go through, the whole question of sexual discrimination and sexual assault and sexual violence within the military, is another source of some real serious trauma that doesn't get talked about, but I'll let her proceed.
Yes. So some things, you know, it's hard for me to talk about because it makes me emotional, but some of the discrimination that I went through in the military was racial. Plug it on the cipher, was racial discrimination. When I went in the military, and I didn't put that in my background. When I went through basic training, I was doing president. I participated in the band. So this is in basic training. Like, I actually performed for others who were graduating. So I was your star airman. When I got to my first base, I was doing president. I was airman of the quarter. I won it at the dorm level, the regular level, but it came a time where I had those of the opposite race come up to me and tell me, you need to relax because we have somebody of the opposite race that you're outshining them, and we need you to allow them. So we need you to stop and be quiet so that they can shine, because they didn't make rank. So in the Air Force, it's a little bit harder to make rank. Army, Navy, and Marines is very easy to make rank, but in the Air Force, it depends on your testing and what you're doing in the community, and whether it's not the community with civilian community, but it's the military community. So basically, I had a young lady who was in the military much longer than me, and I was outshining her as a new airman that came in the military. Me being young and naive, I didn't take it to heed of understanding. Wait your turn. Now that I'm older, I understand the whole political and the politics part, because the military has politics, even though we don't talk about it. There's politics everywhere. In the military, we still have where it's a white male dominant career field. Okay. We just can't be so boisterous about it because the repercussions are extremely, the discipline is really bad. Me young, I didn't understand that. I'm like, hey, I deserve this. I'm going to get this. I'm hanging with the dorm president, which equivalent is like the mayor, of the city. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to tell him that this white man came and told me that we're not giving you these awards because we need a white woman to get these awards, and you're outshining her. Not knowing that, like, again, it's a white man society. Being a woman and a minority, we're not allowed to speak our truth. When I did that, they just found a way to harass me legally. Okay. Not understanding that, I went through the process. They did some things, really did some things, to the point where even when I got out of the military, I didn't have my honorable discharge. When I got out, they was able to give me honorable general. Mind you, I never was court-martialed. I never disrespected anybody. But because I went against the grain and said, hey, this person does not deserve it, and I do, they found a way to punish me legally over a cell phone. But I thank God that, he put in my blood to be a fighter and not to give up. I went to Andrews Air Force Base, met with the board of 12 individuals. I represented myself, and I got back my honorable discharge. But those are just some of the disparities that we still face in the military, because people think, oh, racism doesn't exist, sexism doesn't exist. But just because you sign your name on a dotted line and you go into a society that's organized or government, it still exists. Mm-hmm.
Get your breath, and tell us what years were you in?
So I'm older than what I look. I went in.
That's okay. I'm older than everybody on here. It's all right.
I went in 1998. So we're talking about 98 to 2001. But I'm telling you, right
out of the 20th century going into the 21st century,
yes,
you were treated like a second-class soldier.
Yes.
While performing at a high level.
And mind you, once again, I'm going to reiterate, I won Airman of the Quarter. I won Attitude is Everything, which is a wing, which is an award based on your service, and that's nominated by the civilians. It's not even nominated by the individuals you work with. I worked in the hospital. That award I won, I was nominated by the patients that I dealt with. Okay, so they didn't care that I had those awards. At the time, all they cared about was their person wasn't getting what she was deserved, what they felt like she deserved, because I was outshining her. You understand? Yes, and being young, and I'm like, now I'm older, so I understand the way politics works and the way the system works. But at that time, I wasn't going to do it. So based on me standing up for what I believe in and what I felt was right, they found a loophole to punish me. But guess what? I still won. They might have thought they won for that little time. They didn't win, okay? Because all it did was made me stronger, and it made me more of a beast to have a voice and to let people know, hey, I'm here.
Come on.
You don't have to hire an attorney. You don't have to hire this person. Listen, I've learned the system, and I'm going to fight for those who I feel like deserves it, and they know, and I'm going to make sure we get what's owed to us at no repercussions whatsoever. Like, I don't care. You know, you can't do anything to me as long as you don't hurt my children or my mother. That's all I care about.
Say it.
Yes.
Now, I initially asked you that because that's important for folks to appreciate. It's context. Yes. Context is everything.
Yes.
Now, just you know, and this is an educational platform, and it's something that we're always trying to get folks to appreciate and learn about what we do in this town to try and help our folks heal. How did you combat that, and at the same time ultimately fight for the recovery of your own well-being? How have you been able to take care of yourself?
So I'm going to tell you, every day it's a struggle for me because I face different demons every day. But the way I've shifted, my focus is helping those. I don't know if you guys know the Bible. It says sometimes you got to stop praying for yourself and pray for others so that you can get your blessing to go through. So that's I've shifted, you know, my disability, my situation that I go through. I don't focus on what I'm going through. I focus on helping others. And then in turn around, it helps me, you know. So I don't sit around trying to, you know, focus on Jenny, you got this. I just try to put tunnel. And some days it's hard for me. I'm not going to lie. Some days it's hard. Some days it's hard for me to get up. You know, I cry. But, you know, I still push through, and, you know, I'm blessed in many ways. I may not be where I want to be, but I'm not hurting for anything. And I'm blessed more than you can imagine, you know.
All praise is due to Allah. Now, listen, let me just share some things with our audience on the healing front and on the educational front. Most of the literature of what we now call PTSD is done on vets.
Yes.
Yet there is an incredible shortfall of meaningful, organized institutional resources for treating vets and anyone else who has to combat that condition. I want everybody to appreciate a book called Grandmother's Hands by Resma Menken, a vet who became a psychotherapist by virtue of trying to work out what he had to work out when he was overseas. He did 2 tours of duty himself. And we have a local story, a horror story, and I'm glad you don't have this horror story, but it's a reflection of how deep this shortfall is. July 4th, we're getting ready for Memorial Day. July 4th, 2022, a vet, decorated career vet, over 40 years of service, Major Gulia Dale III, in Newton, New Jersey, in a mental health crisis. Wife calls for help. In 12 seconds, he's slaughtered by Newton police.
I believe it.
On the 4th of July.
Yes.
Right? And then the sickening thing is that, you know, there's the elephant in the room is indeed race, right? Just like they was worried about you outshining some white woman, right? That same town, just a few months earlier, had a white vet in the mental health crisis who fired on the police. They took him alive without even firing a shot.
Yes.
But they did all of the protocols that you're supposed to when someone comes under that, you know, comes into that kind of incident, that kind of situation. So I just want to, you know, folks to appreciate what the service you are now trying to bring to vets, because one of the biggest scandals that trips me out is that when we look in the ranks of the homeless, a huge percentage of them, and they'll tell you, are vets.
Yes.
Where was the help for them coming out of the service? It's an abomination in this country. Ought to be ashamed of his damn self the way it treats his vets.
Yes.
I'm just saying that up front to appreciate you going that extra mile trying to do what you do. Now I'm a war baby from the Vietnam War, right?
Yeah.
And years ago there was something called USO. These were offices that actually took care of vets coming from certain places in service and coming out of service that was, you know, basically making sure that they were all right. How does what you're trying to implement in the city compare to something that once existed? It doesn't exist anymore hardly, and it should, right? It's an example of what I'm talking about. How does a service that you're trying to bring forward compare to that?
Okay, so Brother Muhammad, I'm actually going to speak on a lot of things that you brought up there.
That's why
So
baby. Go ahead.
No problem. So I actually sit on the panel, which is called CIT, which is called Crisis Intervention Team, for our law enforcement in the state of, I do Union County. We have some Essex County law enforcement officers, but it's majority Union County. So I sit on there. They meet every quarter where they have to go to the police academy for a full week to learn how and identify the signs of somebody that's going through a mental health crisis, because that was one of the main things that was going on. So we had a lot of increase in resisting arrest, and we had a lot of tickets of assault on a police officer. And then when statistics actually went back and researched everything, they saw that our law enforcement wasn't trained to identify the signs of someone in a mental health crisis. I'm fortunate enough to where I sit on that panel. So I actually sit on the veteran panel of it to show law enforcement that, hey, to identify the signs, because most veterans, like I said in the beginning, I'm going to back it up and say military personnel, because most people don't know the difference between a veteran and a military personnel. Someone who served in the National Guard, if they did not deploy, and I'm going to repeat this again, someone who served in the National Guard, if they did not deploy, they're not considered a veteran. So even though they signed their name on a dotted line and they said they're going to fight for their country, if they do not deploy, they're not considered a veteran. So they don't get their veterans benefits. So what I've been trying to do is train our law enforcement that when you pull over an individual, don't ask them if they're a veteran. Ask them, have you served in our armed forces? That way you cover the whole scope. You get everybody in the realm. That way, if somebody's still active duty, because if you ask them for a veteran, if they're a veteran and they're still currently in the military, they're going to tell you no. But guess what? They're serving in the military. They may be reserve or National Guard, and they may be experiencing things, but they didn't go that far because we're trained to just answer the questions the way it's presented to us and not to volunteer information. So when you ask them if they're a veteran, they say no, but they're military personnel. They're answering that question correctly. So when I sit on the board with our law enforcement, I tell them, don't ask them if they're a veteran. You ask them, hey, have you served in the armed forces? Are you serving or have you served? That way you cover our active, reservists, our National Guard, and okay. So I'm proud of that. So to speak on the Newton situation, I'm so sorry about that, but that happens more than you realize. I had a family member in Fort Lauderdale that was going through a crisis. A lot of people think that, oh, just because you're a veteran, you can go to the VA hospital. No.
Excuse me, somebody need to put their phone on mute, their device on mute. We're getting some interference. Thank you.
So if your income does not fall up under that $55,000, you can't be seen at the VA. So I have a cousin who was in the Marines, walks around with 2 handguns, called me, cousin, I feel like somebody's following me. I told him to go to the VA hospital. When you go to the VA hospital, the first thing they ask you about is your finances. They don't care that you're in crisis. So he didn't meet the fine. So guess what they did? They let him go, but they didn't treat him. So he called me like, cousin, I went there. So now I'm somebody, so I know the system. So I called Fort Lauderdale and I went off. I called Patient Advocate. I said, you had a veteran who was in crisis, said he felt like somebody was following him. He walks around with 2 guns. You guys didn't treat him because he didn't meet the financial criteria, so you sent him away. Now, if he would have went and shot up somewhere, now in the news, veteran goes postal, but nobody talks about what steps he took to treat his stuff before he got there. So we can talk all day about that, like all day.
I see. I don't doubt that.
What makes me different from the USOs? USOs are still there. They only exist in airports, okay? USOs are more of if you're traveling, let me provide comfort for you while you're traveling. If you may not have any money to buy any snacks in the airports, you as a military person can come eat, drink, and relax for free versus the United Delta Sky Miles Club. What I do is, when I first got in this thing, I thought that putting on events was helping veterans who are suffering from PTSD and other things. I learned that that's not what it is. Filing their claims, getting the money that they're owed, making sure they go back into their educational benefits is what helps them and is what helping them not have triggers with their PTSD. So what I do and what's different from me and it's a US and a USO is I file their claims. I help them upgrade their discharges to try to alleviate some of the stress that they may go through, to try to alleviate some of their triggers, you know, so that's the difference between me and the USO. I left this part. I am an accredited veteran service officer, so I have been trained nationally to file claims and make sure I try to get the best, you know, benefit that's owed to the veteran from the, you know, Veteran Affairs.
Let me say this if I could, Brother Zaid. Thank you so much, and thank you, dear sister. You know, there's a saying that all history is a current event because the activities which are transpiring today were ultimately set in motion by events that were initiated at some point in the past. Therefore, nothing that ever comes stays and nothing that ever goes is lost. So when we hear your story, dear sister, as it relates to your trials and your tribulations where the U.S. military is concerned, when we look at it from a historical context, it's really just history repeating itself all over again, because historically, we know that, you know, it was against the law in this country for Black people to actually fight for a country that was not fighting for them. We know that George Washington made laws to make sure that Black people were not able to fight for this country. The U.S. Navy, the U.S. Army, so many things were done to keep Black folks from getting the necessary training militarily that we would need to help this country fight against their adversaries. Why? Because there was a guilt complex that white folks suffered from, that if we ever gained the type of military training that we needed, that we will ultimately do to them what they had done to us. So we know that it was illegal for Black folks in this country to carry weapons and to carry guns. So one of the sciences that they never taught us was the science of warfare, the science of military, because they did not want us to unite and come together and, you know, do what it is that our nature required for us to do, which was fight for freedom. So they always did things to make sure that we would not unite or come together. In the state of New Jersey in 1751, it was illegal for 5 or more Black people to be in the group together. They called it unlawful gathering. In 1703, it was illegal for 3 or more Black folks to come together. They called it unlawful gathering. So they never wanted to give us the necessary military training that we needed. So they did things to keep us, you know, out of the military. And last point, you know, they didn't definitely want to arm us. So we had to serve on what they call labor battalions or fatigue duty, where all we can do was build the fort. We couldn't do any military engagement. No weaponry could we carry, but we can do all of the labor, the lead work, building the forts, digging the ditches, and those type of things. So to hear your story, dear sister, is definitely heartbreaking and disappointing, but it's not shocking. But we definitely appreciate your resilience, my sister. And we know that you carry the spirit of our ancestors, the spirit of Harriet Tubman and Ida B. Wells and all of those that came before you. See, the strength that you had, you are not just strong because you're strong, and you are strong, but you come from a lineage of strong women who did not capitulate, who did not fold, and who did not bow. And you are necessary, and we appreciate you, sister, all that you have done. You have our support here, the disciples. We thank Reverend Rountree for bringing you up to come and be on our show and make our people aware of the things that you and many others like you are going through and have gone through. And we pray that God will continue to bless you and will continue to heal you, because we know that he is the ultimate healer. So we ask you to continue to seek refuge in him from anxiety and grief, from lack of strength and laziness. Continue to pray to him and ask him to continue to soften your heart and lighten your burden. And we're going to pray for you, dear sister, regardless of, you know, what they give you or what they do. No, you have a God who sees you and who's with you and who has never left you, dear sister. And it's by his grace and his mercy that you are able to stand today and be on this call with all that. We know you haven't even gone into everything that you have seen and witnessed and experienced because it's too traumatic for you. But we thank you for the courage and the bravery that you have had, dear sister, to stand up, you know, and share your story and to help those who are less fortunate. So thank you, sister.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that is from all of us. And
thank you.
I know.
Can I give one more point too, Brother Zaid?
Go ahead, son. Go ahead.
Just for my sister, I know she said she worked at Dwayne Reed. I just wanted to let her know that that Dwayne Reed is not actually one person, right?
No.
Those are two people, Dwayne and Reed, right? James Dwayne and Joseph Reed. And we know that they were both,
New Yorkers,
slave owners.
Mm-hmm.
Although one of them started the New York Manumission Society, they were slave owners. So, I'm just saying, sister, this country.
The African burial ground in New York is over where they conducted business.
That's right. So I just wanted to give you that, dear sister. Not that you may have known it already, but for those in our listening audience who did not know that, I just wanted to give that to us.
You educated me. I actually thought you were going to say Dwayne Reed owned multiple pharmacies, which I was. I was in charge of 13 pharmacies when I worked there, so that's what I thought you was. But I thank you for educating
That's good, sister, because they definitely owe us some reparations. So
they do. They still owe, all of them owe us reparations.
You go ahead there and work and get our reparations for us, dear sister.
They all owe us. They're in debt to us.
That's right. So I thank you, dear sister. I don't know if you want to have some closing remarks before you go. Give people your email or any way they can reach out to you.
Yes. So I just want to say this though, and I feel like, I'm sorry, my dog. I just
dog's
feel like
dog's all right. That's family. Don't worry.
Okay, sorry. We as African Americans, we don't realize like our talent and our worth. We're super intelligent individuals. So even if they don't give us all the information, we are so smart enough to where we can figure it out. They give us 10%, we can figure out the other part to get by. And I just wish that we can work together to make, to stand together and work together, because we would be a force to recognize when nobody could mess with us. Nobody could stop us. We wouldn't be worried about red or blue. We would just knock it out the park. But the last thing I would say is just, I'm happy. I'm here. I'm a veteran advocate. Any veteran or your family member or anybody, if you need anything, please reach out to me. My email address is info, INFO, at V as in Victor, E as in Eric, T as in Tom, the number 4, the letter U.org. So it's info.
Put that in the chat and we'll lift that up.
And do you have any your social media handles, sister?
I do. So my social media is Vets, V as in Victor, E-T. Let me look it up to make sure, I don't give out the wrong information, but V as in Victor, E-T-S. So it's, instead of it's vet for you, it's vets with the S. V as in Victor, E-T-S for you. And that's the Instagram. I'm going to put everything in there. For some reason, it's making me do YouTube. So let me.
No, but we'll put it in the private chat. We'll lift it up.
Okay. Then you put it up. Okay.
Yeah. Two things real quickly before you go. One, I want you to know, I mentioned 1863. Yes. June 2nd is the epic anniversary of the Combahee mission, led by the great Harriet Tubman.
Okay.
Where she led a military expedition into the South in the Combahee River that led to the freedom of some 700 to 800 of our ancestors who are enslaved. That was her tour of duty in the Civil War. We do have a Harriet Tubman Square.
Yes.
If there's a time and a place where there comes where you may need to or want to do something in a public way, in terms of what you do, consider doing it at the square, at the former Washington Park.
Yes.
Consider doing it at the square. It is an underutilized space. Of course, the mayor wanted to bring more attention to. And actually, now I don't know if Roundtree briefed you. This is a hip hop talk show. We'd love for you to tell us in music land, who are you listening to? Who is your favorite group of artists in the land of hip hop?
So in the land of hip hop, I'll say Nas. I always and forever will always be a fan of Nas. I'm a more of an R&B head, but I love Nas. I love just old school hip hop. I feel like the new hip hop is different. Like today, I said I volunteered at my daughter's school, and it was drill more than hip hop. So, but just Nas, I feel like he's a lyricist. So I just wish we could take it back, you know. And most Def, they actually, believe it or not, got me through my bad days when I was in the military, you know.
Wow,
thank you so much.
Those hip-hop stories we need.
That's right. The power of the word. Yes, in the beginning was the word, and the word was with God and was God. So we thank you, dear sister, and please know that we are praying for you.
Please
do not be a stranger to our show. We would love to have you again. We thank Reverend Rountree for suggesting that we have you in light of Memorial Day. So thank you, dear sister. We really appreciate you. And anything that we can do, as Brother Zaid said, we have the Harriet Tubman Square in the city of Newark, New Jersey. If we needed to do anything publicly, please don't hesitate, come down. But thank you, sister.
I think we just need to set something up. So we need to talk about that offline. Like, I think that's just an easy, even if we just do a giveaway or free claims, or just basically educating, because I don't think people know that Harriet Tubman played a part in the military. So I think just having an educational day to just let people know, hey, she just didn't free our slaves. She helped like mold the U.S., like mold.
That's right.
On all different levels. So even if we just do that, that's just saying a lot right there. Cousin, we can't hear you, cousin.
The queen is muted. You muted, queen. She's steady running. She's doing a whole sermon. Yeah.
But thank you so much, dear sister. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
We all do. Come on in, Rountree.
So, Brother Zaid, please, and Sister Ali, if you haven't, go on Instagram and follow the sister Vet for You. I just went on there and followed her, followed the page. It's an excellent
I'm going to follow her as soon as I get off.
This is it, right? Well, you probably can't see it. Is that it?
Oh, that's it.
That's it.
Yes, so I have commercial and different things. Yes.
Right. So I just followed you, sister, Brother Zaid. Come on, get your social media. Come on now, brother.
I'm going to go as soon as we get off.
Come on, Sister Ali. I know you're Facebook.
I'm going to go. Yes. I'm going to get off because your story is powerful, and you're the queen that's on a mission that's not impossible. God bless you.
Telling my story more. So that's been my goal, is to like tell my story, because usually I go in the room and kind of shy back, but I'm ready.
Thank you, sister. Well, we appreciate you for sharing.
I appreciate you guys for even inviting me. I thank you. I thank you for everything. My son just took his Shahada. So even just giving it's like a whole new, learning experience for me. So I appreciate you guys even allowing me to be on this platform. So
thank you so much, sister. Have a wonderful
day. Welcome to the fold.
I'm gonna tell him. You believe it or not, he sent me a prayer the other day. And I was like, okay, I receive it. Listen, I don't discriminate. As long as you believe in something, as long as you ain't worshiping the devil, hey.
Yes, ma'am.
Can y'all hear me now?
Oh, we can hear you, sister.
Now
we can hear you. I was determined to get back in here before my cousin got off.
I know. We saw the sermon. We just ain't hear it.
Listen, I've been all over. Listen, All Politics and Local has been to the flag raising for Guyana. Y'all been in a meeting and a whole bunch of stuff. Listen, because today, which has never happened, Jana, I've been like doing multiple things, but my assignment is the disciples, thanks be to Minister Haqq Muhammad, and Brother Ed Riley, which I haven't seen. I don't see the Sergeant at Arms, Jonathan, on. It must be Baba today. But I want to thank God for this platform. And we're going to be doing guests, at least one guest because we've been on here for years. And me and Minister Haqq Muhammad and the Pastor Ali, God rest his beautiful soul. But we know his wife got some stories too. We could do the whole hour by ourselves. But the truth is, there's so much information, so much knowledge, so many individuals that need to hear. They're going to hear from us. They're going to hear that the men have a meeting tonight with Mayor Baraka over at Central High School so he can help them address some of their issues. They're going to hear that I'm doing a mental health awareness luncheon on next Friday, May 31st. Everything ties into mental health, Women's Wellness Month this month, this month, but mental health ties into everything, whether it's the veterans, whether it's the community at large, whether it's the faith community, our children, lay leaders, school teachers, people that are in the armed forces. public safety departments. All of this is mental health. So we are doing a luncheon on next Friday. So at University Hospital, you can call my office 973-733-3794 for more information. If you're interested in coming to the luncheon, Jana, get your schedule ready. We're going to talk about it so we can see what hours you will be at 920 Broad Street to service our veterans with your phenomenal services right at your fingertips. In June, there will be an expungement. I'm thanking God she allows me to partner with Blaze and some other entities at the Newark Museum for and I don't think we'll be back on. What date is that expungement clinic?
June, so it's June 13th, and I think they changed. I'm waiting for them to lock it in, but I think
Right.
it's growing bigger than Newark Museum, so I think they're trying to move it to the farms where to be outside. But the
Okay.
date definitely is June 13th, 11 to 2. We will let you know the locations, but I just want to
Perfect.
say the expungement part of it is not a resource fair. That expungement clinic is you come, there's 5 attorneys sitting, they give you free legal
That's
advice.
right.
They file your expungements right on the spot, so you're not coming getting papers to take home. You're actually
That's
getting
right.
the services there.
Jersey faced a long backlog of
Yes.
expungements at the hands of the state police. Their behinds had to be sued to
They
get
need-
that mess together,
Yes.
right? So that there are going to be some lines for that because a whole lot of folks need some help and more than ready to get to work for real.
And
Thank you so much, Brother
Your
Zion.
legislators to make sure you push. There's Assemblywoman Kuhano that's really pushing the expungement bill to make them speed up on their backlog. So reach out to your legislators. That's the only way you're going to see progress.
Yes.
Thank you so much, I dear sister. So thank you, and may God continue to bless you and keep you.
Love you.
Take a productive evening. Thank you, sister.
Great
Yeah.
chair, daughter. We're
Come
proud.
back very soon.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you. All right, have
So-
a good day.
you as well. Thank you so
You
much,
You
as
dear
well.
sister.
too.
So, Reverend Roundtree and Brother Zaid and Sister Ali, I'm gonna leave you all to close out the show. I have to go, so I thank you. So I'm not able to do like you, Reverend Roundtree, I'm not able to move like that. So you'd have had us in the rotunda at the flag and the poles, Reverend Roundtree. Oh my Lord, doing the prayer. Then Brother Ed said he wanted us on the road. There it is.
That's
Wonderful.
right.
So I want to make God bless you and keep you. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam,
And I
sir.
had my office
Wow.
was already set up for me to do the show, but Council President called me while I was in another meeting at 5:30 and said, "How long is it going to be before you get here?" I said, "Get where?" She said, "City Hall." That's all I got to do. All politics and local at 6 o'clock. She said, "Well, they got you down to do the prayer, so you got to tell them give me 15 minutes." That was like at 5 to 6. The flag raising started at 6. I got downstairs. They was like, "Well, we want remarks now because somebody else did the prayer." I was like, "Oh Lord." Then they said, "Well, you're coming outside to raise the flag." So I was like, "Okay." So I had to take y'all with me to raise the flag. 58th Independence Celebration of Guyana. We in Newark raised the flag. Every country, First Lady Ali. I'm excited. You got what you call them things? Your peas? I don't know what you.
I
What
got
you
my
say you
peas
had?
popped. I
Your
got my peas
peas
popped.
You got your peas popped for your event tomorrow.
Yes.
We got
Prayerfully
so much
next
stuff
month, I'm
coming
gonna.
up. Go
Prayerfully
ahead.
next month, I'm gonna be in a spot in my house. I'm trying to get my second and third floor done, and so stuff is just everywhere. That's why I'm sitting in my car and I keep fading out, but I'm gonna get it together.
That's right. You already got
There
it
you will.
together. And every day is a new day to put one
Yes,
more piece together or
yes,
one more. It does not listen. You're on a journey that we all are on or have been on or will be on. And the truth is, nobody can tell you what it's like if they have not been married to someone they was in love with and that loved them, that have been transitioned. And now when they wake up in the morning, they can't turn over and look at them. Can't nobody tell you what that's like
so
if they
true.
haven't been there. They also can't tell you how to feel when the hurt gonna be gone. Because the truth of the matter is, it's never going to leave you. What you
That's
do is,
right.
as each day goes by, is learn how to deal just a little bit more with God's help, with God's strength. You persevere because while you are living and alive, there is more. And the songwriter
Yes,
said, as long as you're breathing, there's more. And until we stop, we get stuck and we start parking, Baba, and we put $2 in the meter when we only need to put a quarter so we can move on. You put $2 in, you're gonna stand there for 2 hours and grieve and the time that you cannot get back. You do what you gotta do. You can grieve every day, you can cry every day. I just tell people don't leave their car and walk away. That's don't park and stand over there and look at your car and don't move it. Like, come on, let's move. We'll be back tomorrow and park across the street. But we gonna move now because we got a whole lot more to do. And you have so much to offer. And I'm just excited about what you're doing at New Psalmist Worship Center as the leading lady. As the leading lady. As the leading
Oh,
lady.
it's not easy. Trust me, it's not easy.
Nope. No, but the Lord
Not
didn't say.
easy.
Now you already know what your husband gonna say. The Lord didn't promise us easy.
Well,
The
I said
Bible
this
declares
morning
many are.
on my live this morning, I said back in 2020 when God sent invasive ductal carcinoma to my door, I never asked him why me. Never said that. But on February 20th, I said to God, now I know why. But it's because of the husband I was married to. Because of the best friend I had to be my friend.
There it is.
Because of my lover. Because of the love of my life. When I tell people I don't
There it
even see
is.
myself getting married again, because I've been told a love like I had only come once in a lifetime. I'm 58 years old. I'm going to take care of Balena for the rest of my life.
I know
I'm
that's
not
right.
saying I'm going to die. I'm not saying I'm going to just cover my head up. But again, I'm going to keep on saying it. If God had not prepared me for such a time as this, y'all wouldn't have asked me to be on the show. Y'all
That's
wouldn't have
right.
even been able to see me because I would have had to cover over my head because true to form, nobody knows this but my husband and people that's close to me. I suffered 3 bouts of depression. Never had to go on medication because of God. So I know what the devil had in store for me, and so did God 4 years ago. That's why I had to endure what I had to endure, so I could stand today and be the person that I am.
Yes.
What would Pastor Ali say? What the word says, many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord will deliver them out of them all. Let me
That's a
say
nice
this.
version of my husband. He
And
really would have said, okay, get up. Okay, get yourself together.
Let's
Come
go.
on now. Shake it off. Come on. That's what he really
Yep,
would have said to me.
that's right. And watch
and
this.
That's how
Hey,
he roll.
baby, the police
hello.
walking by me looking at me like, what you doing? Right? I'm sitting on the stoop of City Hall, the police department. I see the sergeant at arms has arrived. He's come to shut us down. Yes, he did. He come to shut these 2 powerful women down because the new guests have arrived. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so excited,
Welcome.
Brother Ed, that there's a show called All Politics Are Local, the number one hip hop. All right. Facebook,
and
radio,
Councilwoman, you could say
listen.
hi to the newly elected mayor of Montclair.
Listen,
Hello.
hey, how are
Hey,
you,
I'm
beautiful?
well. How are you?
I am phenomenally, wait a minute, I'm a phenomenal woman, and you're
Indeed.
phenomenally a winner. So,
Indeed.
congratulations. We look forward to doing work with you in the future. And hello there. How are you guys doing? Listen, I know him. We just got one of the, this man used to run the fire department, didn't he? I know him. I've been around a little time. He was the director. How you doing? I'm actually on a program. Say hello to the fire director. Come on. There you go.
Who is this you
This
talking
is on All Politics and
Hey,
Local with your boy,
cuz,
Renee.
how are you?
to?
Tell him who you
Hello,
are.
how are you?
I'm
Tell him.
well, thank you.
Tell him.
Bobby?
Tell him who you are.
I'm Claude Coleman. I used to be director of the police department and the fire
I
department.
remember those
That's
days.
right. That's right.
Okay, all
Now
right.
you see, I'm
Those
sitting on the
days.
ground at the police. I'm sitting on the sidewalk. I'm in my pretty clothes, and you never know who you're gonna see. It's so good to see you. God
Good to
bless
see
you.
you, too.
I know Jonathan want me to get off this radio show because my time is up 5 minutes ago. I'm supposed to be in another event while I'm talking to y'all. So let me get on in this event with Amir Jones. But listen, I love you. I love you. I love you, First Lady
Love you
Ali.
Yeah.
too.
Keep me posted
Love,
about what's
love you
going on
back.
tomorrow.
Love you back.
Father Ed, thank you for the vision. We got to look back and see what date we actually started
Yep.
doing this so we can have a 2 hour celebration and highlight some of the shows that we had with Pastor Ali,
That's a
some of the
great
guests that
Yes.
idea.
came on. some of the guests that came. Hey, boo. Listen to yesterday. I said hello to everyone. You're on All Politics Show.
How you
Tell me
doing?
who you are. Tell me who you are.
Alonzo, Blaylock, Prince Derek Doll. Nice to see everybody. How you doing?
See there, that's Alonzo Blaylock. Y'all know him with the gorgeous hair. Okay. I'm going to decide too. All right, I'm not going to bring no more guests on. I love you all. I love you.
Love
I
you
love you. I
back.
love you.
Love you
All
back.
right.
Hey,
Um,
take care.
Don't forget, Mental Health Awareness Luncheon next Friday, 1 to 3, University Hospital. Call my number, 973-733-3794. Young men, you still have a chance to get over to Central High School, where our mayor is holding his monthly meeting. Once again, thank you, Jonathan, but most assuredly, God bless Brother Ed. Tell the beautiful Lady
Yes.
Kim that makes you look so good. We love her. God
That's
bless you,
right.
Brother
Thank you.
Zaid, who taught me how to get up there and have some courage. Some of the things he said I can't say, I can say it in a different way, and I ain't scared to say it, because we do need our reparations, and we gotta let the clear folk know we ain't scared to say
Yeah,
what need to
yeah,
be scared, to help our
absolutely.
people, to send the best interest of our children. God
Yeah.
bless you. Peace, family.
Peace.
Thank
Peace.
you.
All
Good
right.
night,
Thank you. Thank
everybody.
you.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
There is
Good night.
only one Louise Scott-Rountree. Only one.
Absolutely.
Only one.
We love her much. We love her much. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Baskerville, for coming on. We very much appreciate you, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations to you. You mentioned, give a huge shout out to your twin sister and campaign manager. Uh,
Absolutely.
Congratulations to both of you, and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm really honored to be here. And that's my better half, my identical twin sister, Leslie Baskerville. She's the president and CEO of NAFIO, National Association for Equity in Higher Education. She oversees all of our historically Black colleges and universities nationally. And she takes 3 months out of her life every time I decide I want to run for something to come here and run my campaign. And so I'm just so indebted to her for many reasons. And thank you for inviting us both.
You're very, very welcome, and it really is an honor. You ran what seems to be like how it's characterized as an incredible underdog, upstart campaign that changed Montclair. Like, it wasn't just your win; it seemed like it was, from the what I'm reading about, like a clean sweep, a statement, a thing. Can you describe what happened on election day?
Yeah, well, actually, I was never the underdog here. I was clearly front runner, and I have served as an elected official in the township of Montclair at the 4th Ward for 12 years as their council member. In 2020, I decided to run for mayor for the first time, and I'm still not really sure about who won that election.
Yes,
They
that
called
was
the election in favor of my opponent without counting 1,100 votes and having closed the post office early on the day of the election in 2020. And so
Wow.
after that happened, and I went to several organizations, and they didn't seem very interested in trying to help me get relief, although we go as far as Atlanta and other places and talk about the importance of counting every vote and not disenfranchising people. However, it was going on right here in Montclair, New Jersey, and I was unable to get the results that I wanted, which was just to have every vote counted. So from 2020, I just decided I was going to do what I've been called to do, and that was to continue to serve. I've served on every committee and commission in the township of Montclair, except for the Environmental Commission, and I just found that out recently. So that would be like civil rights, fair housing, the parks and recreation, the parking, you name it, every commission that we have. And I had affirmative results. For the 12 years that I was an elected official, I hosted a community meeting at least once every month in the 4th Ward of Montclair, and 100 to 200 people came for the 12 years that I was elected once a month, and they set the agenda for me. So I always went to the people, and we have a type of governance where it's participatory governance, where they're sharing with me what we should be looking at as our top priorities. I'm listening to them, and then we're going together as a team, as we've always done, and getting the job done. So when this election came up, I was the front runner and expected to win. In fact, probably in larger numbers than I did. I was a little disappointed at the outcome. I thought that clearly, being the only candidate for mayor that has served in any capacity in the township of Montclair, and clearly having demonstrated the amazing results and affirmative results that I've had in the last few years, that it would not be such a difficult choice. And the votes were pretty much divided by ward. And I was a little bit disappointed in that too. But so we did the type of campaigning where people do, where you don't have to have a ton of money. I'm not in bed with any developers or anything like that, where you have like a lot of money, like in the 2020 election. There seemed to be large amounts of money coming from NJEA and other organizations. Well, we didn't have that this year. We just had local individuals. In fact, there's a phenomenal sister, Tracy Crosby, attorney Tracy Crosby out of East Orange. And she called me up one day and the sister said, hey, you know, we found out you're running and we want to do something for you. And within a couple of days, they had what was called a pop-up fundraiser. And she made a few calls and raised enough money for me to get some yard signs and a new pair of sneakers. And we hit the pavement. And my sister, you know, led the way with the strategy. And yeah, it was an awesome connection with the people. And I think my strength has always been connecting with people, going door to door. We had a lot of opportunities to speak, have campaigns, which we didn't have in 2020 because of COVID. So this time, a lot of organizations, whether it was environmental, whether it was our Montclair African American Heritage or NAACP or the Clergy Association or the Montclair local newspaper, a lot of organizations actually hosted campaign opportunities for us. And that really drove us to become our better selves, because they gave us questions, we had to answer them, and then we just go and publicly discuss why we were interested in doing what we were doing.
It was. It seemed like it was a clean sweep, right? Like, I know that you're saying that it was closer than you'd wanted it to be, but I think that, like, when I'm reading the press publications, they seem like they were impressed by all of your candidates winning, right? Like, I think that you have an entire. It's not just you who won. You have an entire governing board that reflects the people who ran with you. Yes. Is that was that an expected thing, or was that part of the real community work that you seem to have done?
It was. Go ahead.
Onto that, I think that, and thank you so much for honoring me by allowing me to join Mayor-elect Baskerville. Thank you for having me on your program. I think that by Mayor-elect Baskerville being able to bring in with her, she had 4 persons on a slate, being able to bring in 2 others who had no name recognition. One of them had not lived in town for long, and neither one of them had any name recognition here. But Renee's strength and the fact that she was known in every ward across diverse groupings of stakeholders enabled her to bring along and transfer her votes to the other members of her team. And it was quite remarkable. So you're absolutely right. When people called it and said that she came in and it was a clean sweep, unfortunately, one of the members of the team did not get in. But that goes to another issue that was just clear and present in this race, and that's many people voting along race lines. So we talked a little bit about how it was expected that she should win. If you look at the 2 candidates, both were female, both, in fact, the other one who ran on the ticket with Renee in 2020. And but she had lived in this town and had provided no service, no commissions, no anything that anyone was aware of. She talked about a 50-year residency in town, and Her record shows some spotty math in that regard, that perhaps she was living in a neighboring town where she also ran for mayor at the time that she said she was living in Montclair. So the only difference, they're both professionals. Renee is a seasoned medical doctor, and she has leveraged that position as a pediatrician family practitioner to provide pro bono services in the towns of Montclair, Newark, Orange, East Orange, South Orange, and families who would not otherwise have services for their children and young adults up to 18 were provided it in Montclair. She said she was on every commission, not just on the commission, but had quantifiable outcomes. The opponent ran on no listing of impacts in the communities of Montclair. And so the only difference between them, and she's a lawyer and has a master's in business administration. The difference was one was white, at least for part of the time, but she changed. Her ethnicity shifted depending on which year and who she was talking to. No one called her on that. And the racism and the voting along race lines was so bad that, so Renee said that we did hand-to-hand combat. We did classic retail campaigning every day at the train stations that take people from Montclair into New York and back, every day, door to door, every day, the candidate direct calls, on and on. One day I was at a train station and first question, are you a registered voter in Montclair? Yes. Secondly, may I share with you some information about Dr. Renee Baskerville, who's running for mayor? And he said, oh, I know Renee. And then I said, oh, okay. It doesn't seem as though you have a favorable response, white gentleman. And he said, well, she should just stay in the 4th Ward. Well, that was a reference to she should not, despite the fact that every time someone called from wards 1, 2, 3, and she was representing 4, she was there. Anybody in any ward on any street will tell you that. His response was that she should stay in Ward 4. That has historically had a larger number of Black voters.
Here's a question that I didn't know, right? Like, you said that people voted along racial lines. When I was looking just at the results, et cetera, I was assuming, because it's Montclair, that you got a sizable number, if not like close to a majority of the white vote as well, right? Like, how does race play in the issues in Montclair? Like some of the things that you would have to deal with as an executive.
So race plays a huge part in everything, in my mind, and certainly here in Montclair. While we certainly are far above most municipalities in terms of our efforts to integrate the community, integrate the schools per se. We celebrate ourselves for having diversity, which we do have. Race plays a part in everything. I'd like to clarify something because to the best of my knowledge, this year my opponent was Asian when she first started running. And then I think she became Black Asian and something else. I think that the fact that on glance, one may appear that her ethnicity was white was something that people commented about, but I knew her from 2020, and I believe that her ethnicity is Asian or was Asian when I met her in 2020. So what happened was, if you look at the 1st Ward in Montclair, which is the northernmost border, and without having the data in front of me, I can certainly say that it probably has the least African American population in the 1st Ward compared to 4th Ward, which at one time was historically mostly all African American, and now it's becoming extremely diverse. People have found out that this is one of the best kept secrets in town. We have beautiful homes, we have open green spaces, we have Canterbury Park, which my family is responsible for going before the council in the 60s and having them build this park. We have so many things that would attract people to the 4th Ward that now the 4th Ward is becoming more diverse. But what happened was every last one of the wards in Ward 1, every last one of the districts in Ward 1 went to my opponent, and it went to my opponent not by large numbers. And so maybe say people were just looking and they said, well, okay, she's a lawyer and she has some business background, and maybe they've been living somewhere and not coming out at all, because the only people, if they've been in Montclair for a long time, that would not know my name when I ran this year would be people that are just not involved in the township. So let's say those were the people that came out to vote, and then they looked at my credentials and they said, okay, well, you know, she's been a practicing physician for a long time. She's been doing mostly pro bono work. You know, she doesn't have a house on the hill. My opponent had a house up on the hill. And sometimes people associate the socioeconomics with different things. So I'm not clear about, you know, why people voted the way they did. I'm not clear about why she won by very slim margins every district in Ward 1. But then I clean sweeped every district in Ward 4 by very large numbers. And I'm very clear about that because they had an opportunity to know me for the last 12 years and longer, because I was on the Board of Education for 3 years before that. So that was 15 years of public service almost every day for 12 years. So they knew who I was. But so did the residents in the other wards if they wanted to be. So I did have a showing there, but it was not what I expected. So I can't really speak to that because I don't have the data. But if you looked at it on paper, I can easily see why anyone might think that race and or socioeconomics, although I don't know the socioeconomics of the opponent. But if you tell people, well, look, I do pro bono work, you know, I'm living over here in the 4th Ward of Montclair, and loving the community that we have. And then you go on to tell them, and I lift my parents, Charles Baskerville Jr. and Marjorie Baskerville, my grandfather, Charles Baskerville Sr., and Ruth Baskerville up in Love. They lived here before I was. So I was born into service in this community. So anybody that's been in Montclair within the last, you know, many decades, for at least 4 decades, would have heard the name Baskerville. My grandfather, Charles Baskerville Sr., was the first Black man to be supervisor of any position in the township of Montclair. And he was a supervisor of streets and sewers, and he did a great job with that. And he opened the doors for not only our African-American community that was predominantly in the 4th Ward then, but our Italian brothers and sisters who were also in the 4th Ward at that time. So I was born and raised in the 4th Ward. Most of the work that I did, at least elected, was in the 4th Ward. The family history was here. And so that was demonstrated by the vote. And I'm so grateful. And I hope that the residents and neighbors, the new people to the 4th Ward understand I never take it for granted. I was so grateful that they thought it not robbery to go out and pull that lever when a lot of people are disenfranchised, and partly because of what happened in 2020, partly because of what's going on nationally, but they didn't have to do that. So I want to take this moment to just thank everybody from the bottom of my heart. I can't say enough about Catherine Curry, Catherine Weller, Tracy Crosby, who did the fundraiser, and all the people that came out there to help me raise enough money to get one mailer out, some yard signs, and yeah, we did what we did, but we have a community feel, and I think that's so important. And like I said, my strength is the connection with the community. And so going door to door, it was really nice. And people would say things like, oh, you one of the twins. I remember you from when? And it was a good feeling. And I'm so grateful to be in this position now to continue serving, because serving is what I do. I've been called to serve. I've never stopped serving. I was born into service, and I'm looking forward to it.
It's the story you tell about the 2020 election and how there were all of these irregularities sounding like Georgia and the things that went on there. That I want to ask you about what you're like the future and what your plan and vision for Montclair is, what will be different. But before I do that, I just have to ask, what did you do to prevent what happened in 2020 from happening? Because it seems like there were, like you said, there were ballots that just weren't counted. Were there any laws that had to be changed? Were there any rules that had to be changed? Or did you just win by a much larger margin?
No, it wasn't a win by a much larger margin because we don't know what that margin was then, right? Let's say
Right.
of the 1,100 votes, because they called the vote and they said, according to their count, that I lost by 195 votes initially. And then I think that number came down to 95 when they counted a few more. But there were still 1,100 votes not counted. So we don't know what that was. And we don't know why the post office was closed. We actually, went and took legal action. And for whatever reason that I'm really not that comfortable commenting on, the judge didn't think that it was a problem. And the NAACP didn't wish to join my fight, and neither did the local chapter of the League of Women Voters. And so there were some things that were going on that were outside of my control. All of the things that I knew to do at that time, I certainly tried to do. We had some powerful people that stood with us in that lawsuit, but it just didn't end up that way. And you never know, right? I'm really rooted in a faith, something much greater than I. And I'd like to take this moment too to thank the faith leaders, the Montclair African American Clergy Association, the Montclair Clergy Association, all the people that just prayed with me through time and lifted me through the darker days when I was having problems understanding, why did things turn out the way they were? They were there for me and they helped me understand. Everything is not for me to understand at that point in time. During that time, I got busy. I started, going around to all of the places maybe that I didn't know and looking at the flooding, magnitude of flooding. I didn't know we had flooding all over Montclair from the northern end to the southern end because I was really focused on that, which was going on in the southern end. I also did some, personal things. I looked at myself and I assessed what had I done that I was extremely excited about in the last 12 years, and where could I, use some work? What could I work on? And I worked on those things, and I've become a much better listener. And I worked out. I always worked out, but I did intensive. Now I'm up every day like I should have been even then, from 4 to 6 on the elliptical, the treadmill, lifting weights, the mind, body, spirit thing. And just thank God. I thank God for putting me in a position to sit back, because I was going straight through, right, from the school board, those 3 years. And then in fact, I'm the only person that ever was elected 3 times to the 4th ward. So I was going back to back to back with really no rest. And you never know when God calls you to rest, then you rest. And so I did that. But while I was resting, I was continuing to serve. I stayed on the committees and commissions. I stayed connected. I'm on the executive board of the NAACP. And I did that which I believe I've called to serve. I don't need to be anointed with a title or a crown or whatever people do. I just serve because that's what I believe that I am called to do, and I do it well.
Now,
May I just say something on that, please?
Of
And of course, Mary-elect Baskerville will correct me if I'm wrong. Relative to getting rid of the kind of racial divisiveness and the suppression of votes, at one voting place in particular, there were more than a few reports of voter intimidation by Black voters from their all-white poll watchers.
Yeah, that was this year. Mm-hmm.
That's exactly right. And so to go back to the question, what did you do to get rid of it? In 2020, there appeared to be an effort afoot from persons who were very high up in the state chain that came all the way down to Montclair. This year, this appeared to be, and we were told that the persons who were intimidating, threatening, and otherwise deterring some Blacks from attempting to vote were persons placed there by other candidates. Now, the number was small, and as you all know, the fights are many until you have to decide which ones you're going to take on and which ones you are. In 2020, we sued, we spent retirement money, we got other people to join in a class action because that's how important it is. But this year, we've not yet done that. We've not even officially asked for an investigation But it's disheartening. But I think, and Mayor Baskerville is absolutely correct when she talks about the combined socioeconomic and race fissures. But certainly there is not there's not a mutuality of community across. Now, having been born and raised there, I think that Montclair is trying and maybe many years ahead of other places.
Yes.
But it's certainly not where it needs to be. And that's why she made as her first or second priority developing a mutuality of community among
Yes.
persons of all races, ethnicities, socioeconomic strata, religions, choices in terms of their sexual identity and so forth, on and on and on, old and young, everybody. And that was the other. But the other thing is that there's a lot of vitriol, not only in the streets and not only as was evidenced at this particular polling place, but in official city council meetings and other discourses, other meetings, commissions that did not used to exist. And Renee's going to change that with the help of a lot of good people from all walks of life and all cultures and backgrounds.
So it seems like the first order of business will be to do something that brings about racial and unity among race, class, gender. What are some of those things? I know we're running out of time, but I just wanted to talk about your vision, and I think you got into talking about that with with unity. So along those lines, and you could add other things too, that as mayor, as a person who's been doing so much community work for so many years, now that you are the executive inside of Montclair, what is your vision for what's going to happen? What are you going to hit the ground running with?
So for me, that's fairly easy because I'm going to be present. I'm going to be visible, and I'm going to continue to do that which I do. I interact with all people from all backgrounds. I celebrate our Montclair because of the racial diversity, the religious diversity, socioeconomics, the sexual identity, and whatnot. And so I'm going to continue to do those things that I do. I'm going to be present. And I say that because that, I think, was such a big problem in the last few years, because no matter how great an individual is, if you are taking on too much responsibility, say, for example, you are a president of the major organization in one place and then a mayor in another, then something has got to give. And I think because of the absence of individuals on the township end, no matter how amazing they are, and we have some incredible people that are elected there, it just wasn't happening. And so I'm going to be present. I'm going to be easy to find. When people have questions and concerns, they're going to be able to reach out to me. I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm going to be in 205, which is our township council, and I'm going to be there to answer the questions. We're going to answer questions in a timely manner. When people don't answer questions, or people feel as though they're not being heard, then it's not a good thing. We're going to show everybody that they are valued and that they matter, no matter where they are, no matter who they are. And we're going to demonstrate that. So I'm going to lead by example, in a very transparent manner. And everybody says transparency, but I live a transparent life. Even sometimes when I don't want to be transparent, I'm very transparent. And so by that, I mean, we're going to do things like on every level, whether it's the budget, we're going to do line item budget so that people can come in and see them. If we're going to vote on something, we're not going to wait until the last minute and put items on the agenda that were not on the agenda on Friday night, when people should be able to go in and pull the agenda down. Everything is going to be on the agenda. If people have questions, they can write them in, get them in early so that we can answer them. We're going to continue to have community meetings. We're going to get back to newsletters. We're going to do activities. We are a vital community full of life. We have the Jazz Festival. We have the Out Montclair Festival. We have the AAPI Festival. We do a lot of things. Montclair African American Heritage Foundation, all the different parades, 4th of July and whatnot. And so we are an arts community. We're a vital community. And I just want to start demonstrating that and let that override the negativity, because certainly from a national standpoint, people turn on the news in the morning and they see, you know, everything that you really don't want to see. A lot of people aren't even watching it anymore. Negativity. You see people running for the top office in the nation and very incendiary comments, language that is not appropriate and beating each other down. We're going to let people know that we don't have that in Montclair. We're not going to accept that in Montclair. If we have concerns, we're going to come before one another. We're going to listen and do it in a respectful manner. I think people should challenge whatever their concerns are and challenge them until they get an answer that they're able to understand, but do it in a way that is appropriate and respectful. You'll get respect back. And I think that we'll be able to do a lot of positive things. But people have to get that energy back. When I grew up here, you know, we were smiling every time we said you were from Montclair. We went away to school and we couldn't wait to come back to school. And I heard the sister before me talking about she's going to university. Well, I'm a UMD&J grad. So Newark is my second hometown. So I understand that. But when we, say those things, we get excited about it and the energy. When I was going around, I heard some of the parents say that their children couldn't wait to graduate and leave Montclair. And that really broke my heart. And I knew then that we were missing something. And maybe it's that community piece where everybody used to be an auntie, where, you could talk. As people move into this community from other places, I think that they're not really getting the lesson that it's okay to have a community here. We know our neighbors, we have block parties, and we support and uplift one another. So the community, has to do a better job of letting people know that when they come here and whatever they're bringing in. Like some people are coming to our very diverse community and maybe they've only been in around one type of a person, or maybe they've never seen Black people, or whatever the circumstances is. We have to let them know in Montclair, we've been having a shooting for integration. We're not there, of course we're not, but we've been shooting for integration since at least the 60s. And now we are very much trying to have a community that is coming together across the races and across the religious divide. And we're going to do better. We're going to do better, and we have to do much better in terms of affordability. At one point in time, we had close to 44% African-American population in Montclair, and now we are down to about 23% African-American population, and that's not acceptable. These people are being forced out of the township before they're ready to leave. People like to use the word gentrified, and it is a negative gentrification oftentimes that has caused that. And we've got to look at what we can do. We're doing a great job in terms of affordable housing by state guidelines, where you have to have the 60 to 80%. We're doing great with that, but we're not really getting those in the workforce range and those that would be 80 to 100%. That group in there that's making about 100 to 150, those are the people that are being forced out. Oftentimes African Americans, say you're a school teacher, your husband's a school teacher or a lawyer or whatever, you can't stay in Montclair. So we're going to work on coming up with more diverse types of housing, affordable options of housing for everyone. We want our seniors to be able to stay in the township and age in place with dignity. So we're going to make sure that they have options. We want the people that graduated from Montclair High School, went off and did whatever they did, maybe go to a trade school, maybe go to a college, maybe go on Broadway, whatever. We want them to be able to come back and find something affordable too. And we do have things in place in terms of preference of housing for our Montclair residents that happened under my leadership. I've got a lot of great ideas on how we can turn that around. I know that you said something about the time, but we're going to make this work. I've got a bunch of ideas on how we can do this. I've got the energy to do it. I've got a team that can do it. We've got Sushin Anderson, who ran at large with me. We've got Rahul Williams, who ran in the 3rd Ward with me, and Siobhan Williams, who, while she didn't cross the victory line in terms of account is victorious in my book. She's done amazing things. She's going to continue to have input and work with us. And we are going to meld with the rest of the team that was victorious in May 14th election. And I'm looking forward to working with all of them.
So when is the swearing in?
On July 1st.
And where's that going to take place at?
205 Claremont in Montclair at noon.
Well, congratulations. We are definitely going to have to get you back on, especially to talk about, the housing situation. I was just shocked when you were like, we're losing people who make $150,000 a year because they're too poor to live there.
Oh, absolutely.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So yes, I definitely would have to have you back on just to talk about that and those dynamics. And congratulations on your victory, Mayor. Congratulations. And on having a great campaign manager year after year. So
absolutely.
So thank you for being on.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And you all and anybody that gets to see this, please join me on July 1st at 12 at 205 Claremont in Montclair. I'd love to see you there. Sometimes it gets sort of lonely, look around the room and you can't see the fam. So if anybody wants to join me, please come. And I celebrate really the community, because there's nothing that I've done ever that I've done alone, and I shouted out the ancestors, but the community, we do it together, and they know who they are, and I'm grateful for them. So thank you.
I can't believe that you guys, particularly you, Mayor-elect, I can't believe you've never been on the show. I absolutely cannot believe that.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for it now.
Yeah.
And this is the tip of the iceberg, because we could go in on a whole lot with you. You touched on so much. So we definitely have to have you back. I definitely want to go in on a bunch of stuff.
And we forgot to ask both of you that question. We're always a hip hop program. We have a lot. We believe in culture, and I'm putting together politicians with art. So who is your favorite hip hop artist, individual or group? Who you're rocking with now, or who helped inspire you as you were running your campaign? Either answer any way you want.
Hip hop? Does it have to be hip hop? Well, I'm going to answer that. And this is the honest truth. The best hip hop and jazz artist that I've ever met is my father, my ancestor, Charles Baskerville Jr., who was a musician. And he was right before the hip hop era when he went home to the Lord. But he was an incredible musician, and I love him. And he gave me so much. My spirit is in music at all times. No matter where I am, my spirit is in music and in love.
Okay, thank you.
That's
And the other, Ms. Baskerville?
That's a Dr. Baskerville too. She doesn't tell me about
other Dr. Baskerville.
I'm telling you, she raised me up. I would be sitting on the beach with the Mai Tai or something if it weren't for her. Really, she was my encouraging force every time. She wanted to graduate from high school in 3 years, and then she went down to Douglas and said, "Oh, we're gonna graduate early." And I'm saying, "Oh my, can we take a break and just chill?" But I am so grateful for her, because she always pushed me to be the best that I can be. And she is such a humble soul. Read up on her when you're done. Really, go Google Lezli Baskerville. You all be trying to get her back, but she's expensive.
Well, the one thing you all have in common with Mayor Baraka is of course, his brother is also his campaign manager.
Yeah,
right.
I danced with his mom. I did dance with the Uhuru Sasa dancers down in Newark.
Did you really? Wow, yes.
I held a fundraiser for Brother Raz up on Martha's Vineyard in whatever year it was, 08 or whenever he first started. Lita Cruz and I had a fundraiser for the brother. He was one of the first people to call me, tell me, we're going to be doing a lot of things together. I see he's stepping out there and, going for, what is he running for? The Senate? Governor. Okay. Yeah. So we're all going to be out here working together, and we've got to pull together. And I'd like for us to do more of that. And for some reason, some people are losing track of that. We're going to help them understand the importance of it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. And definitely, we have to
let Leslie answer the question. You got to let Leslie answer the question.
Her sister answered it.
Yes, she just answered for me.
Oh yeah.
Right. Good answer.
So once I figured out how this went, I just decided occasionally say something, but this is a show and she's brilliant, and she is who she appears to be. And having come from the womb and been together all of our lives, she's not putting on, she's transparent. Her heart, her spirit, her soul, they're all better than good. They are exemplary. And I know she's going to have a sterling service at this phase as she has at others. And I thank you all so much for giving her and then allowing me to kind of tag along and be here. It's a tremendous honor. And I know that your listeners are many and varied, and this will be a very great help as she prepares to get sworn in. And hopefully some folks will come and be there for her and with her, as I will also.
And that's going to be July 4th. That's going to be at 2
1st, July 1st.
July 1st.
Yes, sir.
12 noon.
Yes,
12.
sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, listen, we thank you both for coming on. And of course, you know, Mayor Baraka is here every month. He does something called the Mayor's Forum.
Yes.
So he's here every month talking about what's going on. So we'll look to get you on and particularly pay attention to what you're doing up there and give you as much support as we possibly can, so you can count on us.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. And for everyone listening, please like and subscribe our Facebook page and YouTube page. All politics are local with the R.
All right. Congratulations. Thank you, ladies.
Good. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
All right.
You too. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Loaded show. Loaded.
All right.
All right, Denise. I see your sister's trying to come in. Let her see if she can squeeze on in there. But Toni, I'm not used to seeing you in glasses. Who that?
Yes.
As we transition into this next segment, I'm getting feedback from somewhere. I don't know where it's coming from. I just want to introduce Toni Ervin and Denise Ervin, the aunties of the late Andrew Washington. Andrew Washington is someone who we lost in mental health crisis to the hands of the police. I was mentioning Major Gulia Dale's case in an earlier segment, dear Queens. We had a young woman on who works with vets and mental health challenges. And so there's been a lot of things that are weaving through our conversations today that's setting up this brief conversation that we're going to have with y'all tomorrow. Tomorrow is a loaded day in history. It is the 61st African Liberation Day, and it is the 4th anniversary of the tragic and still haunting spectacle killing of George Floyd. Killing, of course, that set up a sea of protests that gave the United States its largest protest season in its history. All right. And your family, coming off the loss of your nephew, Andrew, is using tomorrow to do something important that is not often done. It's not often done in our community. And that is to raise the question of mental health awareness. So let's take a few steps back. I want each of you to introduce yourselves in your own way, because you both are forces in your own right in your beloved Jersey City community. And let's talk about Drew, and let's talk about what we need, and let's talk about tomorrow. All right, y'all all right with that? Y'all got to talk now. It's ready. Denise, you're muted. You can't just smile. I got to talk.
Are you going to?
Denise, this is your first time with us. Why don't you go first?
Excuse me? You're asking Denise first?
Yes. This is your first time with us. Toni's been on before.
Basically, host.
She's going in and out. You're having trouble with your.
We can't hear you.
She's going in and out with her sound.
You might try to go to leave the studio.
Go out and come back in.
Come back in.
Yeah, because your connect could probably be better. So Toni, you got a bat lead off after all.
Oh, okay.
Hi, my name is Toni Ervin, also known as Doris Ervin. And tomorrow, on the 25th, on this anniversary, we call it the George Floyd Day. We were going to do, in remembrance of George Floyd and mental health awareness, we were having a special day to bring communities together, especially families with children, and give them an opportunity to participate in activities and learn new ways to heal from profound loss and social and societal events that have deeply impacted us, especially in our emotional state. Um, I'm creating a day that would feature, fun activities for the community, for children and families. We have art therapy, paint therapy, dance therapy. We want the families to come out and enjoy themselves, but also paying homage to the people we lost to violence. We will be having in the beginning a libation ceremony for families to announce the names of their loved ones who they've lost to violence, police violence, as well as to community violence. And we want to just bring recognition and remembrance to those people, but also, because it's Mental Health Awareness Month, to talk about ways we can heal. We'll have information and resources available to people, things that they can do in the city, people they can contact within our community if they're experiencing a mental crisis or someone in their families. I researched and found programs that will teach people what to do in the process, so that information is available to them. We'll have refreshments for people to enjoy, but we are looking at actually the ones that have gone on and have passed on was my nephew Andrew Jerome Washington. We were looking at Bernard Plessy Jr., Najee Seabrooks, and also Major Gulia Dale. Because our families have connected in such a way with our loss. So I have been in contact with their with the mothers, the sisters of these families. So I just thought it would be good that us all come together, especially for just a mental healing from our situation in the community, and just look at that and just hoping that we can touch other people and other families that are hurting. I have had families that reached out to me also that have people that have died or were killed through violence, and they're happy to come, and we're going to all have pictures of everyone and just just have a good time and feel, just de-escalate some of our stress and just come together in fellowship. And that's what we're planning for tomorrow.
Denise, does Denise come back on? No, you got to talk now. Denise, jump on in, fill in the blanks for your sister, and tell us why tomorrow is so important for you.
Yeah, it's vitally important because what I'm noticing in the community in regard to mental health mistakes, as far as family resources available in the community, right?
Oh,
I think you're going in and out. Is it just me or
yeah, it's going in and out.
Going in and out.
Yeah.
Try to take your sometimes, depending on the type of internet you have, if you take off the video and just keep the audio on, it might come through. Yes.
Is that better?
Yes.
A little better. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll have to move on. I think this is a wonderful thing that Toni's doing, and I'm involved in the event. My biggest, I would say, my baby in regard to mental health is I'm working with the RFP, a mobile response team in regard to Jersey City and mental health and people in crises. And I'm just noticing that there's no information for preventative measures and how we can assist our community to let them understand that mental health, substance abuse, behavioral health, and those types of things, it shouldn't be a stigma or a crime, and how we can address that through our community. And also, I'm working with City Hall to try to change the way we interact with the police force, because I find in Jersey City that our safety department doesn't want to come to the table to talk to the city council regarding this mobile response team outside of the Seabrook, Washington bill funded with the community led more de-escalating crisis intervention. So for me, tomorrow will be meeting people, giving resources, and getting support to come to the city council to get them to act on getting this RFP together and getting the police department to the table to change their tactics in crisis intervention, because I feel that they're not getting involved with social workers, clinicians, a variety of people in the community that could be of an assistance when they're called to a situation like my nephew's, where they should have had the ability to stand down, be able to call a different type of association, because we call the mobile crisis response team, and what we had was the police arrive, and the interaction was horrific, and even their interaction with our family was horrific. They were ignored. The de-escalation training was it was just devastating. In the end result, we lost our nephew. So my fight is for change in how we de-escalate training with people in crises. And I'm not just talking about mental health. There's so many areas that we're encountering with substance abuse, dementia, and there's so many varieties that they encounter. And I find that Jersey City is not really trying to change their mindset in the police department to address the situation. So I hope to get people out to give them resources on the preventive ways, but also to come to the council meetings to demand that they change their tactics and how they address our community when they come into our community and there is a person in crisis. So I think tomorrow.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And let me just for clarification, what you just raised, what we're talking about is the beginning steps of the implementation of the Seabrooks Washington bill, right? A lot of the Najee Seabrooks, who you mentioned earlier, who ironically was a community-based violence interventionist in his own beloved Paterson, New Jersey, was likewise killed under similar circumstances in a mental health crisis in Paterson. In his situation, his team of interventionists were on the scene, and the police weren't even allowed. The police wouldn't even allow them to help Najee, and they wound up killing him in a way very similar to the way we lost your nephew. So this bill is supposed to pilot a community-led emergency response team in each of 6 counties, Hudson County being the county center for Jersey City. That is indeed supposed to happen, and that process then appears to have some problems in this logistical layout or rolling out has begun, and the importance of being fully engaged in that process to make sure that what is unveiled is not something that short shifts the community, but that gives the community everything that they've been looking for is important to appreciate. So I do hope folks get both of what you're trying to lay out tomorrow. One, a healthy space to embrace joy on the pathway to healing, and two, to be as present on the matter of advocacy for policy change and accountable police practice, as that is so important. So I'm glad you lifted that up. Now tell everybody where it's going to be at.
Oh, it's going to be in Jersey City at our Berry Lane Park on Garfield and Communipaw Avenue in Jersey City. And also, we didn't add that we're also having a voter registration table so we can talk to people not only about the city council, but also try to get people registered to vote and explain to them the importance of their vote and how all of this stuff is connected, and to be out there and coming out for the city council. We're getting ready to go into our mayoral election, which is very important. And, how it really affects.
Is running for governor.
Oh, well, yeah, our mayor's running for governor. However, we still have we have several people that are running for mayor as well. And then we want to try to educate people also on that process and how to find, the candidate that supports your interest and the interest of the community, the things that we need to have done, and just not sit back and, just be an onlooker. But those are some of the things we're going to be discussing. We have people that are coming out. There will be politicians. We do have some of the candidates that are running for mayor that will be there tomorrow. We have various nonprofit organizations. Anti-violence will be in attendance. So we're having people there to speak about the programs and the things that are going on within our community, and just really educate people on the things that are happening, while also bringing an awareness and to the forefront of protecting our mental health, and in remembrance of the people have died in a violent manner. But it is tomorrow. We're starting at 1 p.m. from 1 to 4:30. We will be doing a libation ceremony around 2 o'clock once we kind of get it started. So we'll have everyone that will be announcing the name of their ancestor that had passed on. And then we will finish the day with just them participating in the activities that we have planned, and just hoping to have a joyful day. The weather seems to be cooperating with us, so we're real happy about that. And I have a lot of community leaders and volunteers that are coming to help assist us with this. We also have something special. I have a young woman from the Bronx that's coming that does reading corners. So does a reading corner with the children. So we're doing also a literacy campaign as well while we'll be out there, and having books from a young Black author that will be, talking about mental health and something for the children as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Jonathan, you want to jump in with anything? Denise, did she leave anything out?
Toni.
Jonathan, why don't you ask and there's a lot of places I want to go, but I know we're running up against time. We got the next segment getting ready to come on, because I really wanted to spend a little more time talking with you also about you both have background working with children. And we just came out of a pandemic, and what that pandemic did for the mental health of our community in general, but our children in particular, is a conversation of its own, right?
Right.
So back at some point to really let's talk about that some more, because it is important to appreciate the whole question of mental health support. Informed, competent, culturally informed mental health support is really important to this generation at this particular time in a way that we haven't seen in some time. So I want to salute both of you for doing that, and looking forward to joining you tomorrow on the ground. Jonathan, you want to ask our guest the ritual question to take them home?
Well, in light of we are a show that honors hip hop and traditions and everything that we do. So we're asking everyone this question at the end: who is your favorite hip hop artist, individual or group, or just who inspires you to do some of the stuff that you do?
Denise, you got to go first, because again, this is your first time on with us. Toni been on here before. Try to get you muted yourself again. There you go. Come on.
Hey, Maya. I grew up with Kool and the Gang. There, my neighbor is the type of people.
From Jersey City. That's right. Okay. I'll definitely take that.
That's who she's going with.
Yeah. Toni, what say you?
I think the last time when I was here, I said Rakim, which still is very close, to me. But also, I love DMX. It depends on my mood, on what I'm doing and how I feel. So I can go with Rakim, I can go with KRS, and I can do a DMX. It depends on the motivation that I need to be in. You know, some of them, you know, DMX get you motivated when you're in that fighting mode, you know, that there's, you know, you're invincible. So I like that. I like the social stuff with KRS. They're still in the fighting mode, but it gives you that social thing going on as well. So it really has to do with a mood for me, you know.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
We're glad to have you both back on. This won't be your last time. This is an open mic for you. Whenever you need to sound a drum for the community, this is you can do that.
But can I just say, I just want to thank you so much. And what you did mention in reference to, I didn't add, because I'm a trainer and I teach teachers, and I teach at a college. I do have students that will be coming for continuous education credits tomorrow that will help us with some of these activities with the children. So I have reached out to a lot of my students to try to get that.
Good. They're the ones that got to carry this forward.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Looking glad to see you here, and I'm looking forward to seeing you there tomorrow.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You too.
Yeah, good stuff. I'm very, very proud of those two sisters. Their family's been through a lot. Not only did they just lose their nephew last year, but they just lost the matriarch of their family, their mother. And their mother was a true old school community matriarch, organizer. You know, she was doing fundraisers for Barack Obama before we even knew that Negro's name, right?
Wow.
I mean, she was like that. Yeah. So they've been working through what they've been through. And so I'm very proud of how they are coping and carrying on in the Sadas language. Right now we got a shift. This is a powerful ladies' night. I'm telling you, Melina. I don't know if you had a chance to check out all that has come on before you, but we've had some sisters rolling from 6 o'clock to now just to set you up. Right. I'm very proud to share with us in this space for the first time someone who I've watched and had the support from afar because she's on the left coast. Right, and I'm just left. I ain't been to the left coast but one time. Right, I'm just to the left, to the far left. Right, but an incredible, tireless organizer, educator, hellraiser, who's made quite a name for herself on that heartbreaking, hard-headed front called police brutality, and has recently faced some crazy stuff at the hands of the police, and just finished a trial that should have gone very differently than what it actually had gone. Some history is important to appreciate, some LA history. Melina's just survived being swatted, having a home and a family confronted by a SWAT team by the LA police and from quarters that are at best questionable to say the least. And that whole, many do not realize that SWAT teams, as we know them, owe their birth to the Black Panther Party. They were created back in the 60s to put down civil unrest with a particular emphasis on the great Black fear factor of the Black Panther Party. And that came to a head in December 1969 when the Los Angeles office faced a SWAT team just 2 days after Fred Hampton and Mark Clark was assassinated in Chicago, right? And if it wasn't for the military leadership of the late, great Geronimo Pratt, who had his troops ready to absorb that kind of attack, it would have been a whole lot of casualties, right? So imagine just one day out of the blue, you just doing nothing but what you do, teaching, community meetings, trying to organize your people around social justice, have a SWAT team come down at your door with your children in tow and whatnot from quarters unknown. Get one wrong reaction from one of a sea of police, or one overreaction from somebody being scared to death in their own home could have led to a disaster and a slaughter, right? That's what this sister has had to contend with just in recent weeks, and it was just in court about that, and we need to not let that go. So, Melina, welcome to All Politics Are Local, right?
Salam alaikum. Thank you for having me.
My queen, right? We got a lot to talk about in a little bit of time. I mean, we're definitely going to have you back. I'm going to put a pin in this right now, Ed. This is also the vice presidential candidate riding with Cornel West, because everybody ain't going with Uncle Genocide Joe Biden in the Black community, right? So at some point, we definitely have to have another kind of conversation of a radical electoral kind to be sure to lift y'all up on that front. But we got to talk about this incredible work you're doing and how you have had to live being under threat for doing that work, and just what that means for so many of us as you've done it. Talk to us, Queen. What's going on?
Sure. So thank you. So I am, I've been organizing around ending police brutality and police violence, and really policing as we know it, which absolutely descends from slave catching, policing as a completely irredeemable system that is meant to target and kill and brutalize and harass Black people. I've been doing that for a very long time, since I was a teenager, actually. And then when I moved to Los Angeles, jumped in the movement with 10 toes down. And I don't see you anymore. Are you still there?
Yeah, the screen is focusing on you. We got you. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. And so July 13th, 2013 was a historic day, a pivotal day in Black revolutionary history. It's the day that the murderer of Trayvon Martin was acquitted. And for many of us, we poured out into the streets in Los Angeles and in other places. And I was one of the ones who poured out into the streets in Los Angeles. My day job, my job that pays me, is I'm a professor of Pan-African Studies at Cal State LA. So I poured into the streets with many of the students that I organize with, that I work with, as well as a group that we called the Mama Brigade, right? So a bunch of mamas, mostly single mamas, poured out into the streets. And we didn't realize that what we were giving birth to, giving life to at the time, was the movement that we now know to be Black Lives Matter. And so I helped to give birth to Black Lives Matter. I'm not a co-founder. I didn't call the first meeting, but I was at the first meeting. And about half of the folks in that circle of 30 people were part of my Mama Brigade and students that I organized with. And so we helped to do that work. And we've been, I've been dubbed the fiercest critic of LAPD. I don't know if fiercest, but one of the fiercest is, I think is clear, because we move according to a collective. So my collective is definitely, we're not letting LAPD get away with what they do. And so if we fast forward to 2020, we'd been organizing at this point for 7 years under the banner of Black Lives Matter Los Angeles. And what that looked like is going to the police commission meetings every single Tuesday. What that looked like is protesting on the steps of the district attorney every single Wednesday. It looked like protesting in front of the mayor's house regularly, to the point that we blocked him from getting an appointment, a cabinet appointment under the Biden administration. So LAPD doesn't like me and I don't like them. So on August 12th, 2020, there'd been many protests. Many of you have seen some of them. I think it might have been the largest protest of that Black Lives Matter movement moment, was one that we led in Hollywood, where about 250,000 people filled the streets of Hollywood. We had YG out there. We had, lots of folks out there. That had happened. We filled blocks around the mayor's house, lots of arrests. We shut down, some of the places that the rich and famous shop, including the Grove. So there have been lots of things happening. There was a lot of news coverage, a lot of media coverage. And what I believe happened is in retaliation, LAPD had been trying to figure out how they could target and silence me. And so on August 12th, 2020, there was apparently a false call into 911 that was the recording that was released to the newspaper, not to me, but to the LA Times, had a very apparently Southern white male voice that claimed to be holding 3 people at my address hostage. And when the 911 operator asked, who is this and why are you doing this? He said, I'm doing it to send a message. And she said, well, what message are you trying to send? And he said that BLM is a bunch of retards, right? I wouldn't use that language, but he did. So before they were even dispatched, they could have been pretty sure that it was a false call. Nonetheless, dozens of police came to my house, surrounded my home with assault rifles, helicopter overhead, and forced me out at gunpoint. So there was a moment when they ran up to my front window. I wasn't sure initially that they were there for me, but when they ran up to my front window with assault rifles, I was clear they were there for me. As a single mother, I hurriedly got my children into the safest room in the house. And like any mother would do whatever I had to do to keep my children safe. And so once I had them together in the room furthest away from, the police threat, I followed the instructions. I was on Instagram Live because I wanted the world to witness, but I also wanted people to come out. And when that happened, and there was an announcement for everyone at my address to come out with their hands up, I was on live, and I came out with my hands up. And when I opened the front door, I and my children were sure that I was going to be shot. But I would have rather had that happen than them shoot into my home or come into my home and, jeopardize the lives of my children. When I came out, I was met, and I'm sure this is what kept me alive. I was greeted by neighbors who refused to allow me to walk to the police line without them. There's a brother across the street who put his body directly in front of mine. And we walked together, he and his wife and I walked together to the police line. And the police asked if I was being held hostage. I said no. And then they said, okay. Then I said, dragged on a little longer than this. And I said, am I free to leave? And they said, yes. They never bothered to check my home. They never checked to see if my children were okay. They didn't check if there was an actual hostage taker that was forcing me out. None of that. So what the lawsuit was about is recognizing that LAPD may not have made the call, but they absolutely used the call in order to target and intimidate and terrorize me. And more proof happened when we announced the lawsuit. We announced the lawsuit several months later. And the day after we announced the lawsuit, I was swatted again.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And then
look this up.
I protested. We were protesting the police association, which sometimes calls itself a union, which is not. I'm a union member. Union members stand for working class people. Police stand for, they are the
armed agents of the state.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So just a few days after that, I was swatted a third time. So 3 times in the span of a year between 2020 and 2021, we were swatted by LAPD. Unfortunately, this lawsuit, we got to remember when we got a chant, the whole damn system is guilty as hell.
That's right.
And what we saw with this lawsuit is that the judge, the LAPD, the city attorney that represents police, and the LA County Sheriff's Department all kind of linked arms and doubled down on police terrorism and violence. So as we had a lawsuit protesting police intimidation, terrorism, and violence, they utilized police intimidation, terrorism, and violence to silence us. So ultimately, yesterday, we didn't.
In the courtroom. Come on, make it plain.
We didn't win. We didn't win in court. And, the judge, who's one of those happens to be Black people, regularly throughout this 2-week trial issued admonishments to the people who overflowed out of the courtroom to make sure that it was clear I didn't stand alone. So we're clear. We're clear that we had to try. We had to use this as an opportunity to expose them. But we're also clear that you can't expect the system that causes the harm to then hold itself accountable. And so what else we learned is the community is beautiful. The community is beautiful. And so I hope that's a summary that paints enough of a picture, Brother Zaid. But I appreciate you again for having me and for following us.
Y'all hear this? Y'all hear this?
So let me get this right. You got swatted 3 times. Like, they didn't, at the same address, they came out, they sent in a whole SWAT team for somebody who's a known activist. And the judge was like, all good? Like, everything's normal? Like, there's no level of, like, oversight. Nobody had to explain. There was like, this is a thing. Like it was there's zero resolution. This is like, we will do this anytime we want, and we will do it again.
Let me tell you how complicit the judge is. The judge wouldn't even allow us to present evidence that there were 2 other swattings. The judge only allowed us to present evidence on the August 12th, 2020 swatting. So I wasn't allowed, I snuck it in my testimony, but I was admonished for it, and they struck it from the record. Still, the jurors heard it.
On what basis? Like what was, they just made it up? It's like a Mumia thing? We're just making up rules?
They made up rules. Absolutely. The other thing that I left out is the body cam footage shows the police looking at my Facebook page on their way to swat me that first time.
So they knew.
Wow.
The sergeant repeatedly calls me that chick with Black Lives Matter. And then other cops on the scene are also saying, oh, she organizes with Black Lives Matter. She's the leader. We don't have a leader. We're a leader full, but the leader of Black Lives Matter in Los Angeles. And so they knew. It was on multiple body cams. It was on multiple body cams that they kept referring to it. So they knew exactly what they were doing, and it was presented to the jury in that way. Unfortunately, the jury also had no Black people on the jury.
In Los Angeles.
Wow.
In Los Angeles.
Wow. On a case of this magnitude in 2024.
That's right.
The prosecution, I mean, the people representing the other side, were they constantly just picking Black people off of?
Yeah.
Were they just picking people off the jury? Like, were they like, there were Black people in the pool, but they were just like, nah, you can't be here. You can't be here.
There were a few Black people who were struck from the jury. The alternate was Black, but he didn't get to vote. So, because he was the alternate. So there was one Black alternate, but the 12 actual jurors were all non-Black, and that was a huge issue.
Is there a plan to bring a different suit, like a federal suit, or is there another suit that could be brought on the other swatting? Not that it would change the result, but is there a level of we're gonna keep doing this because you're gonna keep doing this?
That's my hope and prayer. I would love to do a federal suit. I would also love to do a suit on the subsequent swatting. So the second swatting actually is more outrageous than the first, because the second swatting, there actually is no 911 call. They claim that there was a call into the Wilshire division on a non-recorded line. They claim it was the homicide line of Wilshire division. And I'm thinking, the homicide line doesn't record its calls? What are you talking about? And who would have the direct number to the homicide line of police if they're not police, right? So the second call, there actually is no recording. They also claim that they did identify the callers. They said, and no information was ever given to me, but the LA Times was able to get some information. And so what police claim is that the calls actually came from 3 white male teens motivated by hate. So only in trial did we find out that the name that they gave for the person who actually made the call was some white teenager named Andre Drehoff, that they never even bothered to interview. They didn't question, they didn't arrest, they didn't charge, they didn't even tell his mother. So he faced no consequences. They claim that this kind of ring of teens had been doing this, and that this was the most violent response. They've been doing it all around the country. But they didn't even bother. I mean, what kind of police agency could say, well, the person who really committed this crime was, this teenager, but then they never prosecuted or even questioned or told on the so-called teen. So, I mean, it's clear
teenagers get arrested for pulling a fire alarm in a school.
Absolutely. And it was, I don't know the right word, sadly ironic that as they were saying that, and my community was present, one of the people who's present is the co-founder of one of our prison chapters, Black Lives Matter Lancaster Prison. His name is Prince Akili. He was arrested when he was a 15-year-old child, snatched out of his desk at Linwood High School, and incarcerated for a non-murder, non-attempted murder, didn't have any weapons, didn't get anybody to use any weapons. And Prince Akili was in for 17 years, beginning when he was 15 years old. But of course, the difference is he was a Black boy, and we had to challenge the entire system. We were able to actually change the way in which the County of Los Angeles prosecutes crime, and get the new district attorney, which is what some people call a progressive prosecutor, to release people who were arrested as children and are held on non-crimes. And that's the only reason Prince Akili came home. He was sitting with us in the courtroom throughout that time. So as they're saying this 15-year-old white boy didn't even have his mama called, here's this grown man now who's now 33 years old, who did 17 years in prison for not committing anywhere near as much of a crime as this Andre Drehoff, if that person exists, did.
Can't make this stuff up. Can't make this stuff up.
So the prayer is that we will be able to get an attorney who can move the case forward. But the other thing that happens with cases like this, as you all know, is it's extremely difficult to win against the police.
Right.
And, attorneys want to make a living. And so if we don't win a lawsuit, they don't get paid. And so we had to shop around to even get attorneys who would take this case. So again, the hope and prayer is that we can find an attorney who would be able to either or both charge, file the federal lawsuits, or also file lawsuits on behalf of my children, because there's a longer period that they have. My oldest child just, turned 20, and then two of my children are still young. They're 14 and 17. So, that's again a prayer. In the immediate, what we're doing is also exposing all of the forces that were complicit in this, including this so-called Black judge whose name is Rupert Birdsong, exposing his role, exposing the role of the cop's attorney. The cop's attorney was allowed to completely berate me and ask me, did I think I was special? He essentially called me an uppity Negro on the stand, and was never stopped from doing that. He also refused to give his name.
Not stopped by the Black judge. Judge Clarence Thomas Birdsong. Keep going.
Right. The cop attorney was allowed to try the case without giving his name. He never gave his name. So
an attorney,
for the city of Los Angeles, for the LA. So I actually
courtroom full of people.
Huh?
The courtroom full of people. It's a big case.
Right.
This wasn't no.
And it's not like they,
Oh
he was scared to give
God.
his name because he would get swatted, right? Like it was only maybe about 2 years ago that because I had I knew Los Angeles police had history of corruption and brutality and violence, and that's legendary. I did not know there were police gangs. I did not know police gangs were a thing, right? Until reading some stuff on, and reading and listening to various writers, especially I think Cerise Castle did a series on it, and then a lot of people started doing stuff on it, and then it just seems like when you're looking at the way that they treated you, it's organized. It is like an organized police force that is bent on repression. It is not protect and serve. They had no means to protect and serve the public, and it does, and it's so petty, right? Like it is like, because someone is pushing for civil rights, you are going to repeatedly threaten the lives of their family with a gross abuse of power that is so gross that you don't even have a recording of a 911 call for the SWAT team coming out and pulling guns. Is this stuff related to the layers that we read about, or about police gangs in LA, or is it just the whole system is corrupt, top, bottom, and this is just a part of it? Like, how deep is it?
Yeah, I think it's really deep. So the series that Cerise Castle wrote was specifically on LA sheriff's gangs, LA sheriff's deputy gangs, where we know that there's at least 14 actual gangs within the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. That's who was actually policing the trial, right?
Wow.
So they're the bailiffs, they're the uniformed deputies in tactical gear that were placed outside the courtroom to give the jury the impression that we were violent, right? Who swatted me was LAPD. So there's less research on what those gangs might look like inside LAPD, but we think there's emerging research that says it probably looks much like LA County sheriffs. The hope was with this case that we would be able to get to some of those questions. So the reason for the lawsuit, or part of the reason for the lawsuit, was to see who all was involved and connected. Unfortunately, it's not that easy to get information. They can deny subpoenas, right? So we wanted to, for instance, if we
And
look at the
discovery isn't discovery.
right, at all. So we wanted to get the August communications between the mayor, who we had been protesting in front of his house, right? Did he, we know for a fact that his wife says she called the police on us 80 times, 80 times in 2020. So, you know, did the mayor have anything to do with it? Did the chief of police, who we had launched a petition against to remove, who we finally did remove last year, right? What did he have to do with it? And we didn't get as much in discovery as we'd hoped. But if we do follow-up lawsuits, I think we get a second bite at the apple. We don't really know how deep it goes.
What about like civil rights organizations, traditional civil rights organizations, other civil rights organizations, elected politicians? It seems like this is a danger
We
to
got a
every Black.
new mayor that was headed a congressional Black caucus. Who? I mean, who's you know? You mentioned the community coming out for you, but in terms of organized support, how is that looking? I'm following you, Jonathan. Go ahead. I got you. Mm-hmm.
Right.
So the new mayor, who was the head of the Congressional Black Caucus, who I'm hesitant to call out because she had been a friend of mine since the 90s, right? She used to head an organization called Community Coalition based in South Central Los Angeles. The first pieces ever written on Karen Bass were pieces that I wrote, right?
Wow.
I sat on her. She used to have kind of a people's advisory group. I sat on that advisory board. When she became mayor, but even before, when she was in Congress, she aligned herself with many police interests, including somebody named Errol Southers, who was personally trained by the Israeli occupation forces and was a federal agent. He now heads the Los Angeles Police Commission. She appointed him to be president of the Los Angeles Police Commission. I didn't hear anything from her on this. She was in Congress when it happened. She wasn't mayor when it happened. But I can say that just yesterday, her budget, which increases LAPD funding by $150 million, was passed by LA City Council. So you can imagine that she hasn't been vocal or supportive. And I want to say that without, if she were anybody else, I'd be much more forthright in my criticism. But I'm telling the truth. I just am not as, I'm telling the truth about her without dragging her. So I'm trying to be as fair to her, more fair than perhaps she deserves. There's a lot more to say. You know, she was present when I was abused on my own campus by campus police, and I called out for her and she didn't help. So that's a whole nother story that happened in 2022. So other organizations, organizationally, who was present in the courtroom was absolutely Black Lives Matter, was absolutely White People for Black Lives, was absolutely Clergy for Black Lives. The NAACP in Los Angeles, especially the San Fernando Valley chapter, has been extremely outspoken. Even organizations, there's a people of color surfing organization that was there every single day called Color the Water, right? They were there. So organizationally, grassroots organizations have been very, very present. The deal is, though, we're in 2024, not 2020. So all of us are starved for resources. It's also less popular to say things like we still say, like defund the police, right? Like hold police accountable. And so, you know, in 2020, you could find almost every elected official would say Black Lives Matter. Now they're ducking and dodging and pretending as if police keep us safe when they know that's not true. And so it's difficult in 2024 as opposed to 2020. But I would say grassroots organizations have all been very supportive. National Lawyers Guild was there. You know, so we have had lots of grassroots support. Unfortunately, it's not the kind of support that comes with dollars or lawyers who can afford to do this on their own.
National Lawyers Guild and NCBL recently did a tribunal in connection with the AMLR, and I forget AMLR is an acronym for a long title with one of the UN subcommittees, but recently did a tribunal on racialized policing in the United States, right? And it was very document heavy in lifting that up. So I'm glad you lifted up. Then it's important to lay out that contrast. Tell no lies, claim no easy victories. It's important just to lay out just where we are, reassess, and restock, and you know, regroup, you know, from these places. Let me just say this, just as a brother, as a comrade, and as a Black man, if no one has apologized to you, I will apologize for what has happened to you, right? What has happened to your family, right? When this is, you know, you're in trial, and you got a Black judge calling the police in and surrounding the damn building, you know, on top of what you've already been through, and at a time, and I want you to respond to this to be sure, where students are in the midst of their own uprising around the Gaza genocide, right? And are being faced with some policing that does not look at all appreciative of the First Amendment. What's your thoughts on that and how that's looked out in California?
So I'm so glad you raised it, because what was just on my heart is I didn't lift up the fact that students were at court every day. Students were at court every day, even as they held down these encampments, even as they were facing their own court cases, right? So a bunch of students at UCLA, at USC, at Cal State LA, you know, have been holding it down, and several of them have been charged and have been arrested and charged. And they showed up for me every single day. And so I think what we're facing in this country at this time is an all-out, full-fledged backlash that is quickly rising to the level of McCarthyism, right? Quickly rising to the level of complete fascism, where anyone who speaks out, whether you speak out against police violence here or genocide in Palestine, you face the full weight of the state descending on you. And I mean, we just saw this, what was it, yesterday, when the students at Harvard University were denied not just graduation, but their degrees if they participated in the protests against the genocide in Palestine. And so, you know, I think the only answer, the only solution is for us to become even tighter with our organizing and be even more resolute that they're not going to intimidate us out of the work, that, you know, there's nothing we can't face if we do it together, and there's nothing we can't win. It might be a long and hard struggle, but we'll win as long as we stand together and as long as we're moving righteous work, inshallah.
MashaAllah. That same 1969 that I opened up with, talking about the emergence of the SWAT team and its use on the LA chapter of the Black Panther Party. That same year, the Black Panther Party called for a national united front against fascism. And here we are again. This looks so much like 68 and 69. It's really, the Democratic Party convention is going to be in Chicago like it was in 68. And all the police did was just break heads, and they were indiscriminate, breaking heads. Black, brown, and white heads got busted up by the police at the Democratic convention back in 1968. and the right wing, took over the national order, and that march to the right has been steady ever since. And this emergence of the Democratic Party has been a sham because it's been the right wing of the Democratic Party that is willing to participate in this instead of trying to stop it. And that leads me to this last question, right? And we're going to bring you back to really have that as a fuller conversation. How does the political climate and all of its limitations within the two-party system, how did that influence your decision to get down with Cornell or run?
Whew. So I said I would never, ever, ever run for political office. Never, ever, ever. And Brother Zaid, don't judge me. But part of the reason is I like to cuss a lot, right?
I'm the cussing this one in this space, baby. It's all good.
But my imam says it's righteous cussing, so he gave me explicit permission, right? So I was content, but also really inspired by Dr. West's candidacy, right? I was very clear that, of course, Donald Trump is the embodiment of he is the devil. He's the devil, right? There's no consideration there. I would never cast a ballot for that fool, right? But Genocide Joe is Genocide Joe. I mean, he is
Genocide Joe, who walked hand in hand with Bill Clinton in the 1990s, taking the Democratic Party to the right and escalating what we now call mass incarceration. That's who that dude is.
That's who he is. That is who he is. And, my children would never allow me, even if I thought it for a moment, they would never allow me to cast a ballot for him. So when Dr. West announced his candidacy, I was deeply inspired and felt like finally I have someone to vote for. Now, I never voted for Joe Biden. Even in 2020, I wrote in somebody's name. I didn't vote for Joe Biden, right? And so I began looking at Dr. West's policy pillars. I was following his candidacy. I've been inspired by him as a scholar and an active scholar, marched with him in several different marches, as well as reading most of his work. He's prolific, so I can't say
he's come a ways too.
Yeah.
He's grown. And I appreciate his growth.
Me too. And you have to always respect someone who allows themselves to evolve, right? Absolutely. Who's not so hell-bent on what they said 30 years ago that they can't continue to grow. And I appreciate that he's never lied. Like one of my dear friends calls him the Sade of politics, right? He said, no matter where Cornell West go, he's going to sing the same song. He's going to say the same. He's not going to say something. He said he's not going to say something in New Jersey that he didn't say in California, right? And it's going to all make sense because it's all going to sound like Cornell West. So I was deeply inspired by Dr. West, especially his run for the president. I host a couple of radio programs, or did host a couple of radio programs, and I had interviewed Dr. West on one of the shows, and I had been with him over a few weeks' time. He was in Los Angeles, had the opportunity to introduce him, and then over the few months, really spent some time with him, but have known him really for more than 20 years. And so when he called me a month and a half ago, I guess it's been 6 weeks ago, I thought he was calling to recap and go over the interview. But he was calling, he kind of paused, and anybody who's talked to Dr. West knows he is verbose.
Oh, that's right.
And he kind of paused, and he and his wife were both on the phone. And they asked me if I would be his running mate. And I was completely caught off guard, but my spirit immediately said yes. And I went back and I talked with my mama and got her permission, because I still got to ask my mama's permission. Got my children's permission, got my organizing community's blessing, and feel deeply honored to be a part of what we call this people's campaign, right? We are running to break the duopoly, to say that, you know, we've had enough with these corporate-owned candidates. We've had enough with this idea that you must choose the lesser of two evils. The lesser of two evils is still evil. And we are committing ourselves to truth, justice, and love, giving the people a platform to vote for, rather than, you know, just saying vote against this evil, right? Vote for something. And so we're encouraging everybody to get involved. You know, we got several struggles, but one is getting ballot access, getting on the ballot in all 50 states. I think we're now on in 7 states, and we're working to get on in all 50. And then also raising up what our platform and what our campaign is, because, you know, there are no debates. Again, when we talk about repression and fascism, there's no public forum to have these conversations except the ones that we make. So we're looking to democratize even the campaigning process, getting everybody to say, hey, did you know Cornel West is running for president, right? And so looking for everybody to do what needs to be done to get this message out there, and also to weigh in on what you want to see happen. So we got things on our policy pillars like, what does Black maternal health look like, right? What does real reparations look like? Not just a maybe you get a tax break, but how do we get a check, right? What does housing justice look like? So we're looking for people to weigh in, as well as be a part of this democratized campaign and effort towards truth, justice, and love.
I so think that your story, right, like the things that you talked about, like in terms of swatting, is so powerful in your campaign, right? As in, Los Angeles is a blue city run by a progressive Black woman. Los Angeles is a blue state. In a blue state, in a progressive city run by a Black woman Democrat who is a progressive Black woman Democrat,
So she says.
you could effectively have a fascist political intimidation that is because of someone's political belief, because of their activism, because they are calling, right, for the police not to murder, because they're saying police shouldn't murder. They risk their life, their children's lives. If when people are trying to say that this is about democracy and Trump, right? And I hear that story. And then you have Trump as the boogeyman because we all think the same thing about him, right? But it's much more difficult for them to make that argument. And I think much easier for you to make that argument that you are choosing between like this is what the Democrats are doing. This is what Democratic government is doing. And I think if Democrats want to be relevant to the audience who they're supposed to be relevant to,
I hope they're listening to you, Jonathan.
they got to be able to answer that question. You can't be mad at Cornel West. You can't be mad at Melina Abdullah for, quote, taking Democratic votes when you are fighting against fascism and it's blue, right? I just think it's just powerful. Like, can you talk more about that, like that message to the Democratic Party about why they really should be worried or change?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've had enough. We've had enough of being bullied and being told you have no other choice. We've had enough of them saying this is all you can have. And I think I'm deeply inspired by our young people who are leading that charge.
Yes.
We're saying, you know, there's no way. I mean, both of my daughters will be voting for the first time in a presidential election in November. They would never consider ever voting for a Democrat like a Joe Biden. They'd never consider it. So if the Democratic Party wants our votes, they got to run better candidates. If they want our votes, they got to have platforms that work for us. It can't be, oh, Joe Biden made a symbolic stop at Morehouse College, right? I'm sure Dr. King must be spinning in his grave, right? When he talks about the three evils of the world, one of them was militarism.
That's
Who
right.
embodies militarism more than a Joe Biden, right? So the Democratic Party can't point fingers at us. There's a saying, you know, a spiritual teaching that when you point a finger at someone, there's four more pointing back at you. So the Democratic Party needs to look at themselves. If they earn the Black vote, they would get the Black vote. If they earn the progressive vote, they would get the progressive vote. If they earned the Muslim vote, they would get the Muslim vote. And I hope at some point we can talk about, you know, the potential of the Muslim vote as well. That, you know, they sit here thinking they can sell themselves out to the most right wing of Zionist interests. You know, they're bought and paid for by
small minority of people too. Small number of people.
Right.
White minority rule thinking people.
Right. But Brother Zaid, I don't know if you've seen this research CARE has done about the potential and the power of the Muslim vote that's been unrealized.
Okay, we got a good chapter of CARE out here. They're right here in Newark too.
Mm-hmm.
We got some young folks in CARE right here in Newark.
Right.
I mean,
they've been leading that uncommitted
Michigan's on fire. I was wanting to get out there this weekend. You know, they're meeting this weekend. Right now, make your point. I'm sorry. I got kind of
No, I'm glad we're both inspired by it, right? Like, you know, they can't demand and bully us out of our votes. Earn the vote or you don't get it. So Dr. West and I intend to earn the vote. And that's how we're running. And that's how we're voting. That's how we're encouraging everybody to vote. Vote for who earns your vote. Vote for who you believe in. Vote yes on something. Don't be scared. You know, one of the things I said in trial and one of the lessons that I live by, one of my grandmother's favorite teachings is fear and faith can't occupy the same space.
That's right.
So don't vote based on fear. Vote based on faith. So I am a deeply faithful person. And we're moving based on faith, and we want to encourage everybody to move based on faith.
Straight ahead, right on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm waiting for you to jump in this.
Yeah. So before we run out of time, I think one of the most important questions, I think for me, is that with all that you've gone through and knowing that, you know, you've got three children, you know, 120, 114, 117. I think that, you know, we need to talk about you, right? Like, how are you doing, right? Because if you're not healthy and then you don't maintain your health, right, then all of this is for naught, right? So with all that you've gone through, how are you doing?
What a beautiful question. Thank you, brother, for asking. You know, I've come to realize a lot about myself through this trial, especially the last day when the verdict came in, which, you know, we were bracing ourselves for, but it was still a blow. I'm okay and I'm not okay. You know, this trial wouldn't be what takes me out, but I think the assault on Black women in particular over the last several months has been very heavy for me. And I'm thinking about women like Marilyn Mosby. I'm thinking about women like one of my dearest friends. And I used to apologize for becoming emotional, but I'm not going to.
All right.
One of my dearest friends, I hope that you've watched that video of the UCI professor who was arrested.
Yes.
She is one of my dearest friends. And she's a member of Black Lives Matter Los Angeles. She's a mother of 2 teenage boys who grew up with my 14-year-old son. And knowing that what we saw in that video was only a part of it, that she was severely beaten to the point that she is completely black and blue.
Oh, no, that story has not been told.
Yes, and she, you know, she's also not okay. So I don't want to say more than she's shared publicly. But, you know, watching these assaults, you know, and being one of the ones who's under assault has been heavy. And I also know that I don't walk anywhere by myself. You know, that Brother Otis putting his body in front of mine, right? The fact that, you know, I didn't become emotional when the verdict came, but the mother of David Sullivan, who was killed by police in Orange County, she was there most days of the trial. She broke down when the verdict came, and she began to sob, you know, sharing her tears with her. It's sad, but also beautiful, right? And so I'm okay and I'm not okay, right? And I think that and I'm talking too long, but I think
it's radio, baby. We're supposed to talk.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hanging on to the pieces of humanity that we have is so important. So one of the things, and then I'll stop after this. So I'm also, Brother Zaid, you don't know this about me, but I'm also, I'm funny. I like to laugh. That's my favorite thing. And so there was a moment when the cop attorney was berating me, but the whole time of the trial, he had this like sideways mask on. You know how some people wear their mask sideways and it looks like a duck bill? So he's berating me. And I look at him, this man who wouldn't say his name, who's like calling me a uppity Negro, right? He doesn't use those words, but says, you think you're special and blah, 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 right? You think you have friends in high places is what he's saying. And I'm thinking, I also got friends. Don't get it twisted. I got a PhD, but I'm from Funktown, East Oakland, homie, right? Like, but I'm looking at him and then I just start chuckling to myself. And he says, is this funny to you? And I just said, what do I have to lose at this point? Because the judge hates me. Police are there. Ain't no black people on the jury. I see the writing on the wall. So I said, no, I'm laughing because you look like Daffy Duck, right? and the whole courtroom erupts in laughter, right? So there's this moment in his head. You can only see the back of his bald head and it turns completely beet red, right? And then after the verdict comes,
you have to ride with me and Daruba bin Wahab.
Because to everybody else, you really did look like Daffy Duck.
He looked like Daffy Duck. He even had 2 indents, like right by where his nose was breathing in, like a duck bill, right? So then after the verdict, I was thinking, how do we expose these people? And I start laughing again. I'm going, what would happen if every day, I shouldn't even share, but what would happen if we just expose, I'm just going to say it, I won't say the plan, but if we expose this black man in name only, I guess he's a bino, right? What if we expose him, right? What if we let everybody know who Rupert Birdsong is? And I got some really enjoyable ideas for how to do that. Nothing illegal, but ways that are amusing. So
only free speech, right?
Only free speech. So anyway, Brother Edward, again, thank you for the question. But I think part of the way I become okay is never forgetting to laugh, never forgetting to play spades and dominoes. And
I used to play spades for narcotics.
wait, do you play spades? You play spades?
Before I became Zaid Muhammad, I used to play for narcotics.
Well, look, when you make that left coast trip, we're gonna have to find
That's
some
all right.
time.
I'd love to have you as a partner. I'd probably get on your nerves though.
I don't talk a lot of stuff until I win. So,
Right on.
So that's the time. That's
yeah.
the time to do it. That's the
Yeah.
time to do it.
But let me add this, my sister. You know, don't ever be afraid to cry amongst the brothers. I'm saying these brothers, right? Because at the end of the day, what we represent is a safe space here, right? All politics are local is about Black politics, right? It's and it's really about talking about the, you know, Dr. Cornel West likes to use music a lot. We like to talk about the rhythm of the struggle. The struggle has a rhythm to it. And some days, you know, that rhythm isn't always upbeat, right? Sometimes it's real dark and dirty. It's like blues, right? You know, some days those people in blues talk about, you know, you like to cuss. They really like to talk about the shit that's happening to them, right?
That's right.
And sometimes that's not pretty, right? And you need to be able to be around people who are not going to judge your tears, but are going to understand the struggle that comes with those tears, right? So the Bible talks about there's a time to laugh, and then there's a time to cry, like there's a time to kill, and there's a time to heal.
Kill and the time that's, you know, make peace.
So there's a time for everything. But here, you know, I don't want you to feel, my sister, like anytime you come through this particular door, feel that there's going to be some brothers here and some sisters occasionally, right, that are going to be here not only to stand with you, but to lift you up, right? So we want you to feel safe when you're doing that, and that we ride with you, right? And you know, and I appreciate you, I respect you, I honor you, and I thank you for the work you put in, because you know that, you know, we've got a lot of brothers and sisters whose names don't even get mentioned anymore, but they put the work in, right? They've kind of led the path for the paths that we walk on today. And some of us, even when you talk about Mayor Karen Bass, right? You know, you got people who will claim that, but when push come to shove, will deny they even know somebody named Melina Abdullah. And that's the shame. But that won't happen here.
That's right.
Thank you for that.
Thank
you for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yeah, it's getting me emotional. I had Sundiata with me at Malcolm gravesite for May 19th.
Beautiful.
87, and then, you know, 87 years went through hell, putting his life on the line for our people. To have him at Malcolm's gravesite was like,
oh
really,
wow,
it was really heavy. Yeah,
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yes, yeah. Thank you again. Thank you for that pledge of solidarity. Thank you for that support. Thank you for your work.
Yeah, there's so many places I want to bring you, because, you know, I run a statewide coalition against police brutality in Jersey.
Right, I do know.
Yeah, that's another.
So we got a lot of building to do. We got a lot of building to do.
Indeed, we do. Indeed, we do.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much.
You want to do the ritual question,
real
Jonathan?
honored to have you here. Yeah, I'm going to ask that question too, but definitely honored to have you here, and appreciate you, right? Appreciate what you are doing, right? During all this time, we always ask the question at the end, right? And the question is, who is your favorite hip hop artist, individual or group, right? We didn't even have our hip hop segment today. DJ Rhino took the shadow. He was in there, right? And so, you know, it doesn't have to be your favorite. It could be the person who inspires you, the person who you're thinking about, the person who helps you, right? Like in that spirit, in that spirit of the poetry that moves so many of us. Who is your favorite? Who you rock with now, this moment? Talk to.
So my favorite of all time is my friend and brother and comrade and struggle partner in life, who, continues, I feel the spirit riding with me, is, of course, Tupac Shakur.
Wow.
Our
Wow.
most famous cub of the party.
Wow.
That's right. That's right. I heard someone mention Rakim on your last segment. Love some Rakim. I won't go into that. But also, I live in Los Angeles. So right now at this moment, and look, I'm gonna fire some shots at Joe Biden and Donald Trump.
Right.
They not like us. They not like us. They not like us. So I'm Team Kendrick all day right now. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what's interesting, Melina? So Mayor Baraka was on last week. And one of the questions he was saying was, because Jonathan was talking about what that campaign need is surrogates, right? And the mayor said the problem with that campaign, he said there's no one energized in our community. There's no one energized, right? It's almost as though people don't even know there's a national election happening, right? And so they've got an election coming up in November, but there's no I mean, I'm telling you, I don't know what it's like in LA, but I can tell you in Newark, ain't no one talking about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
the conversation is very different. Yeah,
that's
they're not
our
excited
job,
about
is
them.
to get folks energized. I'm glad you raised Mayor Baraka. I'm actually here with his sister. We're about to run. Dominique, I'm here with Dominique right now, who's one of my dearest friends. But I think Mayor Baraka, who he's older than me. He was a senior when I was a freshman, but I also went to Howard with Mayor Baraka.
I didn't realize you went to Howard. Okay.
I did. And so he's absolutely right, that we do have to, I think if we can use platforms to get the word out, our job is to energize people. Again, you can't energize people around what don't you want. You got to energize people around what do you want. And I think that's what Dr. West and I can do. Isn't this what you want? A world where people have all of what they need and most of what they want. And we can have that if we make different decisions, right? So that's the work to do, and we hope that everybody helps to carry this work.
Well, I've never voted for two black people in my life, but man, I can tell you, I'm sure looking forward to it. How black folks was excited to go vote for Obama. Man, I can't wait to vote for Abdullah and West. I can't wait.
That's such an honor. Thank you, brother.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. And thank you. And again, definitely honored to have you. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Peace.
Take care.
We got you back. All right, my queen.
All right. Okay. And that is this week on All Politics Are Local. We'd like to thank all of our guests, everyone who came on, and from the disciples to the mayor of Montclair, to the guests who all of our like the entire last part of our guests who talked about police brutality, and so just thank you for everybody who came on. So that was great, right? Especially our last guest, Melina Abdullah.
Strong sisters, that's right.
Yeah, man. Yeah, she the truth is she was about to have all of us crying, brother. You know what I mean? So I'm glad she cut that faucet off.
Yeah, I almost got on a plane for her a couple times. I'm gonna tell you.
But we are 15 minutes over time, right? It was worth it, right? But we are 15 minutes over. So we did thank yous, right? Yep. And we'll talk soon. Everyone be safe, and we will see you again. We'll see you again next week.
All right, y'all.
All right.
The fifth Friday.
So yeah, I got some things.